Okay, I think I'm live and my screen should be showing, so here it goes. Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everyone. Let me go ahead and do a couple things here. I'm gonna just share this new link to other people just so that it doesn't get them confused. So just give me 1 second here, okay? I'm gonna delete the old one here. Let me go ahead and do that. Yes, it's okay. Delete that one. Get shareable link. And let me go ahead and change something here on X and let everybody know. Just give me 1 second. Edit post. Got it. Update. I'm gonna go ahead and pin this on my profile. There you go. All right, guys, I'm back. You guys hear me okay? See the screen all right? Yeah, just gonna go through. I was hoping to come on earlier, go through some business side of things. I do a triumvirate live stream with a couple of my friends, with the Great Masby and with the Tesla Trekker, and I do this every Tuesday with these guys. So the stream's going to usually be streamed simultaneously on X as well as on the Triumvirate channel. You just search Triumvirate TA and it should pop up. Yeah, and we're planning on doing it every Tuesday. So if you want to tune in for more collaborative effort kind of things, feel free. Now I do have a membership thing. I think I've already got enough people requesting stocks. I still want to make my content for the most part free, but if you want to request things, I'm just, in order to like protect my sanity, I'm just gonna restrict this to members now. It's only like $5 a month. It's really, if you want to support me, great. If not, that's fine too. You still be able to get my content, and it's fine, and I still try to fulfill as much chart requests as I can on X. I just don't really feel that I am like working for you. Um, but yeah, if you want to join my membership, as stated down there, currently you can't really see it on Apple iOS. You can only see it on Android and on Chrome, which is kind of silly. But once you join, the feature should be unlocked on Apple iOS. So feel free to do that. Members only lectures, I got about 10 of them. First one that's been very popular is me talking about the Ichimoku Cloud. And then I also talk about the Bollinger Band. You guys ask about a lot of things. I probably talked about it already on like these members only lectures. I do weekly members only portfolio updates. I just did one earlier today, and then I think I'm going to also do some like regular members only hot stocks. These are all the ones above are only going to be available here. The ones down here, like the members only hot stocks, I'm probably going to I'm making ready for Danny's and for the Great Matsby's members as well, just to kind of spread the wealth here a little bit. For those who don't know, I collaborate a lot with Danny Chang. Feel free to follow him on X, Danny Chang 2022. Also collaborate a lot with the Great Matsby. Feel free to join him there as well. I also have an X account. I'm very, very active there. I used to have like 20,000 followers, but I had to reset my account because some scammer like got a hold of like an app that is embedded onto my old X account. So was posting scam links there, so I just had to like shut that account down and start a new one. And overall, like I think it's only been like less than 2 months, and you guys are already following me back. I'm already nursing back to health by about like 60%. So thank you for that. Without further ado, thank you for joining, Christian, and welcome, Low Gains. Is 6:02. So let's go ahead and get the show started. I first want to just go through the indexes. I kind of want to give a little bit of like an overall picture in terms of what I think about the market, because it's a very important juncture of the market right now. The best way to really look at market symmetry is to look at something that the Great Matsby had really shown me. Like what he's shown me has really kind of blew my mind. I have drawn a Gantt square here ever since the bottom of the Great Financial Crisis. And the numbers I used for that is 720 and 5, and it gives me some pretty remarkable market symmetry, actually. Overall, you do have some period of time where you have like a lot of times that you need some great deleveraging that happen. You have deleveraged twice over the last couple of decades, and after the deleveraging, that really allowed stock to go up a lot higher. And you are talking about hitting some of these arcs up here that has served as some pretty great resistance. Like I'm not making this up. Like you just basically put in numbers and these things just pop up. I'm not like trying to match it to the chart or anything like that. So you have some resistance here for about 4 months before it pushes through here around 2015, 2016. That was a bad period of time for a lot of stock investors. You really have a hard time really trying to push above, right? So you have resistance here in the arc for about like a year or so. But once you push through, you got to the next arc. Once you got to the next arc, you have back testing angle here, and you're able to push through. The top of the horizontal line here was serving as resistance, and COVID happened. So you have a little bit of black swan event, actually broke down all these support levels, but was able to eventually found and gravitated back to the arc over here. Got a little bit of resistance here at the top of the arc, and then just pushed through, right? And next thing you know, came back down, trying to push back above here. Didn't really quite get to horizontal line, which is interesting. Trying to push back above here, got rejected here, 45-degree angle. Eventually, we reclaimed, not 45-degree, got rejected by an angle here in general. And now we're getting to an important juncture here where we are hitting resistance again for S&P 500. You can see how it almost got perfectly rejected over there, right? And I don't think it's necessarily going to have to be one of those brutal times where you're going to have to go sideways for like a whole year to push through. I think it might be one of those times that may be kind of like here, just because increase in global liquidity, just because you already have like the M2 money supply kind of going up and you're already broken out this horizontal zone over here. So I don't think it necessarily has to do what it did with these like really brutal sideways here for quite some time, because it was going through that. You can see like the global liquidity, it still hasn't really broken out. It's still kind of going sideways here for a very long time because global liquidity has got like a little bit of a horizontal resistance here. So right now we're at an important juncture where global liquidity is already broken out. Like over here, it hasn't broken out yet, and that's why you have all volatility here. But eventually broke out, got to the next level here, got rejected because of COVID. But right now, I think we've gotten pretty nicely broken out away from this horizontal level here with global liquidity, and this is the M2 Global Liquidity Index. So that's why I think maybe we go sideways here. Maybe we're trying to challenge the arc here, going up and down here, and then we're going to push through the arc. And then once you push through the arc, I think the next level is going to gravitate to the S&P 500 would be like 650. Maybe if we break above, it would be like 730, 740, somewhere around there for S&P for SPY, which is going to be very similar for the QQQ. Now, that is what I'm thinking here, and I just want to be completely transparent. I'm bullish, but we're at resistance on S&P 500, so that's something to kind of keep in mind, right? Another thing to keep in mind here is that we were also at resistance over here around October 2020, and we have this God candle that really pushed us above. I wonder whether or not we're going to end up getting a God candle over here for November or December. There are a few things as to why I think that would be the case. But yeah, I just want to, there are a few things I want to show you guys before I go into individual charts here. I've already got some requests here, so I'm going to fulfill them for sure. But I got a lot of stocks I want to talk about, in like a mere period of 2 hours. So let me go ahead and do that. Now, if you ask me, is S&P 500 under resistance, is that scary? Yeah, a little bit, but not really, because if you look at the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ, and I do this Gann chart here, you can see that currently, if not already requested. No, not yet. I'm going to jot that down here too. I'm going to get to them here in a little bit. I just want to talk a little bit about the market and then fulfill some requests and talk about the big stocks because we got some earnings coming up. I'm going to talk about them in a little bit. But the QQQ, you're really talking about hitting resistance here. Again, this has given you pretty remarkable symmetry at the arc here, the arc here, the arc here. And right now we got rejected at the top of the arc here, came back down, back tested angle, and just kind of shot up, right? And where are we at right now? Well, we're at a resistance here at the 1.618 Fibonacci level, as well as that horizontal Gann level. We spent about 4 months trying to push through it. We're not able to do that. But this is one of those that looks like it's got a standing triangle, looks like it's building on a lot of energy trying to push through. I also think that the QQQ is going to end up, outperforming SPY here in momentarily speaking, even though this looks a little bit like more of a distributive top kind of thing like it did over here. This is a monthly chart, by the way. But the one thing that I really think that the QQQ is getting ready to outperform S&P 500 is because the 20-month moving average of this for this QQQ over SPY ratio chart is changing trend here from negative sloping to positive sloping. And right now we're basically using this from resistance here and back tested support. So I think that the QQQ most likely is going to outperform S&P 500 moving forward, and that's going to be very, very good for the bull market. You see the Bollinger Band squeezing over here, so it tells me that, hey, maybe something's going to happen. I think this area over here is very similar to this area over here, where it's just simply kind of gone way too far, way too fast, with QQQ outperforming S&P 500 for a very long time, just basically back testing the 20 moving average before further bullish continuation. This is a good thing for a bull market. This is a very good thing for a bull market, because in a bull market, on a secular bull market, you want QQQ to outperform S&P 500. And that's what looks like it may be transpiring pretty soon. It just looks like one of those things that just has to happen. On a bear market, usually S&P 500 performs a little bit better than QQQ, which is evident here in 2022, where you have a significant underperformance of QQQ over S&P 500, but we bounce back in a great way. It's very interesting too if you look at what you're seeing here. So I'm talking a little bit fast. I'm getting a little bit excited here. Very interesting looking at here. What are you seeing in terms of the QQQ over S&P 500 chart? You're seeing that global liquidity is rising, right? You're seeing actually this shouldn't be a log scale, by the way. It's a ratio chart. I'm going to make it regular. But you're seeing something very interesting here. With global liquidity rising, what happens is the NASDAQ in general will continue to outperform S&P 500. And this chart actually looks very similar to a global liquidity. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit closer, right? Even back over here is very similar, right? But even now, it is very, very remarkable how when the global liquidity has broke away from this horizontal resistance and getting ready for potential outperformance of QQQ over S&P 500. Like, I'm not making this up. This matches really, really well, right? So because of that, I think that a lot of people are like wondering, hey, NVIDIA has been going sideways for a very long time. When is it going to break out? I'm going to say soon. I don't think anybody really knows exactly when that's going to be, but I'm going to say soon, right? And with QQQ already trying to challenge these let me go and change this back into logarithmic. Sorry. So with QQQ challenging this 1.618 here and the horizontal gain level here for about 4 or 5 months now, I think it's going to push through, and it pushes through, it's going to end up gravitating to the next level here. The next level is going to be around 650. Then after that's going to be 810, and after it's going to be 900. I'm not saying it's going to get there in like 1 year. I'm thinking maybe like over the next 3 to 5 to 7 years. Who knows? It's going to take its time. Maybe by the end of the decade, it's going to get around the top of the arc over here, which is going to be $1,000 QQQ. I think it's entirely possible it's going to go straight over the line like that. No, it could end up having a lot of volatility to get up there, get everybody all scared, climbing on a wall, worry. Over the next 5 years, we have some great deleveraging that happened in 2022, and that is not to be forgotten, right? And global liquidity just broke above this horizontal zone. So I can totally see us making the next leg up at least to the next level, which is the 2618 and around $650 and $658, if you will. The IWM, which is the pulse of the U.S. economy, which is the a signature in terms of how things are going on out there for reals, because the IWM is really the Russell 2000 index fund, and the IWM is basically going to be the small caps. The small caps have lagged significantly. As you can see, QQQ has already made all-time high and more for a very long time. It broke above the 0.786 a long time ago. And when it broke above the 0.786, it just wanted to moon, right? This is what happens usually with stocks and with index, or even with crypto. If you break above the 0.786, it usually just wants to make all-time high, right? S&P 500 kind of did the same thing. Let me see if I can do a Fibonacci retracement tool real quick. S&P 500 did the same thing. As soon as you break above 0.786, it mooned, right? What is happening with IWM right now? Well, let's look at it. Let's draw a Fibonacci level here from the top over here to the bottom over here. What is it doing? Well, it's stuck underneath the 0.786 for a while. It looks like it wants to break above. Sometimes when it's stuck at a 0.786, what it would like to do is maybe backtest to 0.618 or backtest to 0.5. You already had that happen in like August and September. You have these like macro events that have happened. You've already had these things happen that already have grabbed liquidity down below. And a lot of people already have been like liquidated when they're trying to long. You have like a pretty big July candle. Everybody's like super excited trying to long this thing. They get chopped up sideways. That's what happens. You should get chopped up. Don't leverage here. Leverage when you get up. No, don't leverage anyway, regardless, right? I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advices, but like maybe consider a little bit more like risk on sentiment may come after the IWM breaks above the 0.786. That's what generally happens. Looks like we've spent 4 months trying to get that to happen. We haven't had that happen yet. Maybe November is the month, maybe December is the month. I don't know. All I know is if it breaks above the 0.786, then it's lights out here. I think it's going to go up to like 300. And it could happen in a hurry. It could shock a lot of people. Over the next 12 months or so, I think it's entirely possible for it to kind of moonshot here to the arc over here, if not 18 months, right? I think it's entirely possible because it's building up a lot of energy. It's already had a consolidation here for about 2 years. And a lot of whales have already taken the a lot of these like risk on assets away from retail's hands. Sentiment was absolutely horrible for about 2 years. And people are still worried about recessions. And right now, what do you have? You have a bull flag here. You have a little bit of a ascending triangle look to it. Looks like it wants to break above. Looks like it wants to get to 300. What happened last time when you have a God candle that had broken out with IWM? Well, let's look at it. Let's look at what's happening over here. Oh, by the way, it's already also broken away up from the horizontal level over here too, and back tested it very perfectly. You can see that overall, IWM has had these cycles after great financial crisis, cycle number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they respect these angles and curves here very, very well, right? So what happened last cycle? Let's look at what happened last cycle. You're talking about the high here. That was the previous all-time high in August 2018, right? I'm going to draw Fibonacci level here. And I'm going to draw all the way to the COVID bottom. What happened here? You spent 3 months underneath the 0.786 Fibonacci level. And what happened after you broke it up? You make all-time highs. You just basically reached the 1.618 level, right? Like, I'm not making any of this stuff up. The volatility that happened with COVID actually allowed it to slingshot up a lot higher. So actually, this is great how it kind of turned out. I think a very similar thing is happening right now, where all the FIP levels are all kind of lining up. And I think it's probably going to end up hitting this arc up here over the next 12 to 18 months. I probably win in 12 months just because a lot of energy is being built up. Now, what happened here after broken out of the 0.786, right? You remember November 2020? That was a time where things just gone insane. And the S&P 500, it didn't make an all-time high, but it wasn't anything crazy. The QQQ, it actually did not make an all-time high. It actually made a little bit of a Marubasu candle here, but it didn't really hit the wick up there, right? So it actually looks like you do have everything rally that happened afterwards, but the IWM severely outperforms after this God candle happened. I think we're waiting for the God candle. Does it have to be as impulsive as this one? No. And a lot of people are saying, yeah, this God candle only happened because the Fed was printing a lot of money. You also have a very similar God candle here in November of 2016. They didn't print a whole lot of money. Global liquidity was just rising, right? And after this, you end up having the IWM going up a lot higher, right? So I don't necessarily think that this is all just a phenomenon where the Fed's printing money. They always print money. And it's not just the US. The whole global liquidity is rising. China, Japan, everybody's printing money. So what's going to happen? You're going to end up having a lot of pressure that's being built up, and you're going to have a God candle here. Everybody's going to play catch up, and everybody's going to end up leveraging a lot more after that. You don't really have that much leverage over here. So after that, it's probably going to like moonshotting this to maybe the arc up here. That's what I'm saying. November 2020, what happened? Everything went crazy. I mean, ARK Fund was already kind of going up like crazy, but November 2020 was really when everybody was like, oh, it's going to keep going to the moon, right? You're talking about, and we're going to talk about these minor stocks here. Like the Mara, when did it really become bullish? It was November 2020. You had a big giant breakout here in November 2020, right? Even for Riot, these miners, like big giant breakouts in November 2020. So I'm waiting for that God candle. I did a video to kind of talk a little bit more about that earlier. Hey, Matt, good evening. Yeah, I made a video to kind of talk a little bit that earlier. I think that is probably going to end up breaking out. The one thing that is really telling you that I think good things are happening, industrials XLI has been doing really well. Financials have been doing very well. It even broke above the 45-degree angle. So it just wants to keep going. A lot of people are worried about yields. They're like, yields are going higher. Yields are going higher. It's so scary. When I look at yields, I'm going to turn off the Lockwood thing. I'm going to do a little bit of a linear chart here. Are yields going up higher because the Fed's cutting? It doesn't make any sense, right? Well, they already front ran the Fed when it comes to cutting rates. The peak rate was October 2023, which was coincidentally the bottom of the IWM, right? And they're already front ran, like the bond market already tell you, hey, the Fed's going to cut rates, inflation's done. The rest, let's go ahead and plummet the 2-year all the way from like 5.2% all the way down to like 3.5%. They already did that. That was a big giant move that happened over the last year. And the stock market went up a lot higher because of it, including the IWM, right? Now, right now it's a little bit of a deadcat bounce. Like if you look at the 2-year, is this a bullish chart here? No. Like it's hitting the resistance here at our horizontal. Basically, you have a breakdown this horizontal level over here around 4.2, and you just basically back tested it. This is bearish for the 2-year yield. This is going to keep dropping. Like I don't. If people are worried about yields, this is the 10-year, and for 10-year, I think it's best to illustrate on a weekly, in terms of what I'm seeing here. I think the 10-year is really trying to like overextend here. I think this is probably going to end up being a little bit of a wick here. On the 2-year, it looks like it's kind of, I'm sorry, on the 2-week chart, it looks like 10-year wants to keep going. But I think that the 10-year is really kind of getting a little bit exhausted. Like this whole thing right here looks like it's just basically back testing a trend line. I don't know if it's going to end up hitting already like 4.4%. I think the 10-year is just way overextended right now. And I think 10 years probably going to have to dive down at some point. It's hitting a very important horizontal zone over here, and it's forming a lower high after a lower low. The 10-year looks like it wants to go down further, but you have to have what happens here, because you have simply had like a little bit more too far overextended here on the 2-year. It's just having a little bit of deadcat bounce. 10-year didn't really quite make the low Bollinger Band. It's having a pretty strong bounce here, but overall this is still a bearish market structure of low highs and lower lows. So I think a 10-year eventually is going to have to do its thing, which is find its top and then go down. But yeah, anyway, with that being said in mind, let's talk about, because a lot of people worry about macro. I'm just showing you like why I'm not worried about macro. Yes, S&P 500 is at resistance. That is true. A lot of people are going to say that. But there's a potential for S&P 500 to do like nothing for the next 2 or 3 months, when the QQQ can go up a lot higher, when RWM could go up a lot higher, when the ARK funds can go up a lot higher, because the ARK funds already have back tested a lot of like these lines over here, back tested almost perfectly here at the angle and the ARK, and looks like it wants to go up higher. Even ARK fund looks like it's getting pretty much ready to go here. It had a bullish crossover here with the Tenkan Kijun, and right now it's above the Tenkan Kijun. Looks like it wants to keep going higher. So I just don't know about like the bearishness here. Looking at the Magnificent Seven, Apple looks great. If you're looking at resistance level, Apple is at resistance here at the ARK, but it's also finding support here at the angle. It's broken above the 1.618, right? Microsoft is hitting resistance level here too. It's hitting a 1.618, have a hard time breaking above. Also kind of getting a little bit rejected off the ARK here, but I don't know whether or not it's going to end up getting rejected here for too long. I think it's probably going to end up pushing inside back to the ARK and go higher, push a bit, because the 1.618, based on what I'm seeing with the QQQ, I think that's probably going to happen. Amazon, what happened? Man, do I want to buy Amazon over here with a big giant monthly gap up? I don't know. But overall, the trend is up, right? A lot of people don't even talk about Amazon earnings just because the market's done nothing. But it's broken above the previous all-time high pretty convincingly. It might backtest, come back down and backtest some of this stuff here, but it bounced almost perfectly on the weekly Ichimoku. It bounced perfectly on the Tenkan. It looks like it wants to go up higher. But yeah, I'm not really worried about Amazon. Meta broke above the 1.618, kind of doing a little bit of back test here. NVIDIA, let's talk about NVIDIA. Am I bearish on NVIDIA? No, I'm not bearish on NVIDIA. It back tested the Tenkan here almost perfectly. It's not too overextended. It looks like it wants to go higher. And if you also look at the Bollinger Band here on NVIDIA, it looks like there's still a continuing expansion on the upper Bollinger Band. I think NVIDIA is going to hit like 350. I really think NVIDIA is going to hit like 350 by the end of 2025 or early 2026. That's probably what it's going to do, because it's not overextended. It looks like it already broke about this ARK. It wants to keep going up, right? Last time you have something like this where price just kind of gone sideways inside the ARK, and it finally broke through above the ARK, where's it going to gravitate to the line over here? That's exactly what happened during the last cycle, right? You have things that are kind of stuck underneath the ARK over here, trying to break above, eventually able to break above, back tested, very nice break away, and it hits the horizontal here within less than a year after that. I think that's probably what NVIDIA is going to do. Do I think NVIDIA is going to be like a good entry point here? Do I think it's going to hit the ARK up here? I don't think so, because NVIDIA has gone like more than 12x already. Like there's like 1200% gains already. And I do think that the bull trends here is a little bit exhausted because the lower Bollinger Band is kind of pulling back here. Just like the last cycle, and the Bollinger Band starting to come back from the ground, going back up here. It's like already, we might have another like 2 or 3x to go up, which I think is going to happen probably. But I just think that everything else is going to run a lot more. Same thing over here during the last cycle, where you have the Bollinger Band kind of coming back. Whenever Bollinger is starting to come back like it did over here, you have maybe another like 2x or something like that is going to hit the level over there. But I think that's probably going to be it for NVIDIA. Maybe the horizontal here around 350, which is still a pretty significant gain considering price only 135 right now. That's like 2.5x. I mean, that's not bad. And that could propel the rest of the market up along with it. Google, what is it doing? Having a hard time breaking about the 1.618, and then it got rejected, came back down to previous all-time high, back tested. Looks like it wants to go up higher. I'm not really worried about these stocks. I think they're probably going to go up higher, but I just think that IWM is probably going to end up outperforming them all over the next like 2025 or so. All right, I got a few requests here. I'm going to go ahead and fulfill them all, and then I'm going to go to the regular programming here. Holding miners and BTT UDC related assets make me feel like being in a relationship, which I keep coming back no matter how many times I've been hurt. I made this like post on X before where I think like around 2022, 2023, I drew a picture of like the cat avatar that I have on X. And like he's got like a bruised eye, and he keeps on coming back. But I love you, Bitcoin, and I love you, Mara. That's I feel nothing right now. I literally feel nothing right now. I don't care. But yeah, I hear you. Somebody requested Lemonade, which obviously gets requested because there's a lot of interest in Lemonade because of what happened in October. You have a little bit of a bullish engulfing candle that engulfed the price action for almost the entire year over here, and it's starting to get people a little bit excited. Now, this is a monthly chart. November candle only has like 1 day of price action. So far, it's got a little bit of trees at the top to it. I think it's right at resistance, right? But this is a bullish structure, right? So this overall, if you have to label it, I would call it like an inverted head and shoulder pattern, if you have to. Regardless, this is a very much of an accumulation pattern here. The volume is very supportive. You have the down volume have already been completely exhausted for 2021, 2022, and 2023. And then here you really have a lot of accumulation volume where you have buying volume kind of push up, right? And right now, this is a reaccumulation zone because you have declining volume over here. Hey, margin call. Thank you for being here. So you see that there's a lot of declining volume over here. Above this horizontal zone over here. What's going to happen? Well, is there any other indicators to kind of tell you, what's going to happen? You do actually. The Bollinger Band here on a monthly 20-month has finally flipped from being resistance here to support, and it's been serving support for about 6 months. And you have a Bollinger Band expansion over here, allowing price to go up higher over time, right? So Lemonade is going to go up a lot higher. The only problem is that the upper Bollinger Band is going to be a little bit of a magnet. And it's going to probably want to try to pull price back down here until you really fully have expansion. And right now we're just hitting a little bit of a snag here. That's all. Like it's just following gravity. After a big giant green candle that had the price gone from like $15 all the way to like $25, I probably wouldn't want to buy this candle. It probably would want to retrace down here, form a little bit of a higher low before going up further. Now the question is how high or how low is the higher low going to be? Am I guaranteed that it's going to happen? There's no guarantee. It can keep on going up higher like what SoFi is doing. I don't guarantee that. But if I don't, or if I'm in, this is a juncture where if I'm in the stock, if I've been accumulating here around 16s or 18s, I would probably just keep holding because I think it probably go up a lot higher. There's no guarantee as it come back and back test some of the lower levels. But most likely it will. Most likely it's going to go to like 21, 22, 23, somewhere around here before going up higher, right? I just think that that's most likely scenario for it to want to do that. Do I think it's going back to like the teens? Probably not. If I look at the Ichimoku here, you have a bullish cross over here too with the Tenkan and Kijun bullish cross. And the Tenkan right here is around like $20, exactly around $20. So that's going to be a very strong support level here. And if you're looking at the weekly stuff, I think the Tenkan Kijun is going to end up keep rising. It's probably going to serve support here whenever it needs to backtest around 21.22. So I'm not going to like advocate, again, not financial advice in any way, but I'm not going to advocate necessarily getting into the stock like right here, right now. And just looking at a quick 30 GAN level over here, I'm going to do 180 and I'm going to do 180 and maybe, 0.5. Wait, well, let's just do one. One right here says that there might be a little bit more bullish continuation. Pretty decent market symmetry. Not great. Not a whole lot of touches here. 0.5 tells you more because you have rejection here by the 45-degree angle and just came back down, holding to the angle here down below, push back above where you're at right now. You got rejected here perfectly at the arc and the horizontal line over there, right? And you see, if you can see that it has a pretty good market symmetry overall, right? And if I just change this number to like these numbers are preset numbers, I can change these numbers and it's still going to give me some pretty great market symmetry here. You got rejected with the arc here, reclaimed the arc, but was not able to sustain, plummeted back down, found support here at a 45-degree angle, and then pushed up a lot higher, right? This is an arc breaker. It broke above the arc. Where is it going to end up graphing back down to? Maybe the horizontal zone right here around $23. I don't think it has to go down that further, but you can go down to 20, 20 and a half, and that would still be a very bullish chart. You just simply got rejected where it's supposed to get rejected at. So, yeah, I'm pretty bullish on Lemonade moving forward. I think it's probably going to be doing pretty well. A lot of people are asking me about HIMS. I'm going to tell you about HIMS. On earnings, HIMS, I think, is reporting together with Palantir. I'm also going to talk about Palantir in a little bit. HIMS and hers reported Monday after close. And what do I think about how HIMS is going to do on Monday after close? I think HIMS is going to do very well. If I never like to gamble on earnings because it's never really like deterministic, right? I don't know what the market makers want to do. But if you're looking about HIMS, if you're talking about HIMS, I just can't. I'm going to turn off the market, all these indicators here. Just zoom out here a little bit. You talk about HIMS, this looks like a very much of a bullish structure. Like I can't argue this. This is a high time frame bullish structure. A cup here and trying to form a little bit of a handle. I don't know how low the handle is going to go, right? And you have all these wicks over here telling you, yeah, you got the resistance zone over here. That's understandable. You have a hard time breaking above it. That's understandable. That's why you spent half a year for him to do absolutely nothing with this big, giant, scary candle that came all the way back down. And you also last month have a big, giant, scary wick that came all the way down, right? But overall, this is a very bullish structure. It's just been forming nothing but higher highs and higher lows ever since May of 2022. There's a very strong bull trend. And if you also just look at the monthly chart here, if you zoom out, you're looking at the bull in Japan, 20-month moving average keeps on going up. It's just simply gone way too far, way too fast. Just need to wait for the upper bullish band here to continue to expand. Vivian, welcome. Good thing is recorded, and I'm probably going to be here till like 8 Eastern, so you should be fine. Keep doing what you gotta do. But this is the HIMS chart. It's overextended for May, June, and July. You're getting punished for it temporarily, but it's still a bull trend. Even the lower Bollinger Band looks flat and maybe getting ready to kind of expand here a little bit. Very, very sexy chart. Like I don't know. It's finding support where I needed to find support at a bull market support band over here. Is finding support here at a very confluent zone of the month, not the monthly, on the weekly Tenkan here too, of the Ichimoku cloud, as well as the Kijun, right? Like everything is pointing here to this particular level over here around like 18.6, and it bounced right off of that. So I can't really be that bearish. Now it does have a little bit of like a an evening star look to it, so you might end up having a little bit of backtest down below. If it ends up breaking through this level, $15 maybe, right? And that would still be a higher low. But I just, because of this, because they're trying to flush it down to the support level down here below, I just think that it's getting ready for good earnings. And because it's a bull trend, I just think it's getting ready for good earnings. But I don't know. I don't play earnings. So it's just something that I look at. Like if I see a confluence support zone that's being supported here, it just makes me think, right? Another thing too, like it bounced off of the 0.786 here. Let me get rid of volume shelf. Well, no, actually, I don't want to get rid of that. This is 0.786, right? Bounce off of it. It's trying to get back above it. Not quite yet. Right now, the week close underneath is at 0.786, so it's a little bit scary. But you bounce off of this angle over here, 45-degree angle, and the arc over here. It bounces off where it needs to bounce off of. Like, just look at the confluence of support here. It's amazing, right? So I think that the next move, if I have to guess, is probably going to be up. Is probably going to go up to like 25 bucks. If earnings don't do well, where's it going to go? Going back down to this zone over here around 16.7, potentially down to 15 or even like 14. I see a lot of these volume shelf support. I see a very strong volume shelf support here around like 17 to 16 bucks, somewhere around here. The peak of the volume shelf is going to be around 16.2. The 618 level is 16.7. So that's going to be a downside risk if earnings don't do well. And if this goes down like 15, 20%, this is where you're going to end up catching it, right? But yeah, but overall, I just see a lot of confluence. I don't think it absolutely has to go down that much further. If you caught the knife down here around like 18.3, good for you, right? Because there's a lot of support zone over here. Not necessarily saying that it's just going to end up moving from here. I would always argue against like trying to do short-term calls because you just never know what a stock's going to do into earnings. But if I'm a betting cat, which I'm not, I think the next move is going to be up. If it doesn't, support levels I just showed you, right? HIMS. You asked about I have an extra, not Luna. Okay, so you asked about intuitive machines, ticker symbol LUNR, low gains. Let's take a look at it. What we're seeing here is some pretty bullish structure, a very nice bull flag over here. Just overall, this is a weekly. On the monthly, you don't really have much of a price history here to kind of go off on, except for a little bit of a cat smile here. This looks like a cat face. You see the eyes over here. You see the whiskers over here. I like these kind of accumulation patterns. Yeah. So I think this is a pretty bullish chart here. You have reclaimed the monthly Tenkan from resistance here as support. That's a positive finding. You have the monthly Bollinger Band here with the 20-month moving average still going down, but it's flattening. And currently price is above that, forming a nice bull flag. So I'm not seeing any warning sign on a higher time frame. Let's look a little bit at a lower time frame here. What do we expect to see? Let's go ahead and do a little bit of a fib retracement level here from this high all the way to the low. And I'm going to change this to log because I can get a little bit more levels here. It was pretty clear in terms of what it's doing, right? Hit the all-time high wick over here, come back down to the low, and just been rejected here at 0.382. This is what a lot of stocks do before they go up higher. The 0.382 generally is a pretty important number. It's right now stuck between the 0.382 and the 0.236. Do I think it's potentially overextended? Maybe. I don't know which way. Like whenever something is like this in the middle, I don't know which way it's going to go. The Boolean support band is down below. You could potentially come back down and back test the Boolean support band. The Ichimoku cloud is right here, broke above the cloud here. It doesn't have to go down that much further, right? And you also have a little bit of a katana. You have a little bit of a katana here with the Tenkan and Kijun fusion, and you have the expansion over the Tenkan and Kijun. So it might end up giving it enough juice and power to push through back to 0.32 and see whether or not we're able to break above it this time. Or it could end up coming back down and back test the bottom of the bottom of the cloud here. I don't know exactly what it's going to do, but this is a bullish look to it. I like katanas. I like when price is above the katana after the expansion of the Tenkan and Kijun. So if I have to say probability-wise, probably going to end up hitting like $10, especially it looks like it's finding support here at the weekly Ichimoku cloud here very, very well. Look at how thick this Ichimoku cloud here on the weekly was. It was unable to break above of it. It found a area of vulnerability, pushed through it, penetrated the cloud, came back to the cloud. That's kind of what I'm seeing. So I think it's a bullish chart. I like it, but I don't know enough of it, about it to really want to try and get into it. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. But if you're able to break above the 1.6, the 0.382, then 0.5 and 0.618 is going to be next. So like 16.8, 27.5 or 27.6. It probably needs a little bit more energy to kind of push through it though. But once it does, probably going to end up hitting all these levels in a hurry. If it doesn't, the risk level is going to be the absolute risk level. I think is going to be the 0.382. Sorry, yeah, the 0.236 is going to be like $5.5 somewhere around there. But I think it's probably going to hold support. Is probably going to end up going higher because of Ichimoku cloud. So that's what I think about the stock. Somebody asked about Solana. I do that as well. And then we can resume back to our regular programming. This is Solana. I have a Solana symbol here. What do I think about Solana? I think Solana is bullish because it's already doing what Bitcoin has done. It's got a very similar, I have to mag that on, that's why. Get rid of you. It's doing very similar to what Bitcoin's doing, except that it's having a little bit of impending bullish cross over here. So I think that it's doing something very similar to what Bitcoin has done on a weekly chart, which is to get a bullish cross here on a weekly, bounce off the cloud and go up higher. And Solana is basically one of the rare altcoins that's doing very similar things to what Bitcoin's doing. And I think it's going to go higher. Do I think it's going to come back and back test the Tenkan Ichijin down here, or the top of Ichimoku cloud here, like around 150, 148 or something like that? Possible, but that's just a little bit down. That's like less than 10% of it has to do that. But the upsides, you're talking about consolidation here for what, like 6, 7, 8 months. The upside's going to be phenomenal. Like this whole consolidation area is very similar to this consolidation area over here, right? And you just have flipped the Ichimoku cloud from resistance here to support. This is a pretty bullish thing. Even looking at the monthly here, you have flipped the Tenkan here from resistance here to support, and the Tenkan's rising. So I think, Solana is going to do pretty well. It's probably going to be one of those that's going to end up keep going higher. The upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly is 224. It's probably where price is going to end up gravitating to either November or December. Looking very nice. I have no concerns over Solana. I already told you like the downside risk and the upside risk. If you're looking at more of like levels in terms of where it could go, do I think that the cycle is going to go to $2,235? I don't know. I'm when it comes to Solana, it already bounced from $8 all the way down to like the hundreds. I'm going to be a little bit more conservative here and say that maybe the cycle ends maybe at like the 21618 or 31618, just because a lot of the energy has already been expanded. A lot of people are going to want to take profits probably up here. It could potentially hit like 4 digits. I think it's possible. But I don't think it's got like another 20, 30, 40x to go along with it, just because usually we have like these early runners and it doesn't, if it does, that would blow my mind. If it does, that would blow my mind. But I think that it's going to go at least to like 2.618, which is at least a 4x from here. Could it go higher? Certainly. But I think it's probably going to end up hitting like at least a 2.618 is what I'm thinking. Could be completely wrong, but that's okay. You see what I'm talking about, trying to break about the 0.786. I was talking about trying to break about the 0.786. Once you break about 0.786, lights out, right? What has it been doing right now? It got rejected from it early in the year, came back down, back tested the fib level, hold 0.5. Right now it's trying to claim the 0.618. It's probably going to go up higher. It probably is building a lot of energy here, trying to push for the 0.786. And once it does, $400, $600, maybe 4 digits. All right. So that's Solana for you. That is Solana for you. Big giant cub, nice handle. I don't have anything else to say about it. All right, I'm gonna take like a 1-minute break and drink some fluids. Because I have a lot more where that came from. I just went nonstop for 40 minutes and I just went through macro and a couple of chart reviews, and I love it. I'm gonna keep going, and I'm gonna tire you out before I get tired out, because I like to win the battle of stamina. And Vivian, sounds like you got a busy weekend. It happens. So I want to I'm probably gonna try to do these like weekend streams on a weekly basis, unless if I'm like out of the country or on vacation, or like have to be busy for my weekend, which I think for remainder of the year I might go on vacation for like one more time around Thanksgiving. But beyond that, I'm going to try to do these weekend stream on a regular basis. So if you guys want to do like chart requests, things like that, feel free to join the membership if you want to. You don't have to. You're going to still be able to see these streams for free. And if you request on X, I'm going to try my best to fulfill it. But I've just been like, I don't want to make it work. So if you want to support me, I'll try my best to support you back. This is the monthly chart of Tesla. The great Masby has taught me how to do these Gann charts, and after he taught me, I just can't stop and won't stop. 360 is the duration, 10 is the ratio. And you can see the beautiful market symmetry that this has provided me. Let's zoom in here in terms of what has happened with Tesla. 45-degree angle held, broke two arcs, back tested an arc, rejected the arc right there. Was able to break through the arc, back tested the arc, got close to 45-degree angle, didn't even touch it. This is how bullish Tesla was. It got front ran here before it touched the 45-degree angle. Pushed about the horizontal, got rejected perfectly here at the arc, came back down, held the horizontal, pushed through an arc over here, back tested the horizontal. It's been stuck here between the arc here and the horizontal here for 3 years. What's happening so far? Well, let's zoom in. In September, close above the arc. In October, back tested the arc with a big giant wick down below. So far on one trading day on November is above the arc, right? This is a change of character in terms of what it's been doing. The arc was really resistance here for a very long time. And when you have things that have flipped from resistance here to support, what do you think is going to happen? You have even completed this already with the back test that it needed. What do you think is going to happen? $700? When is that going to happen? I don't know. Do I think that Tesla is going to make like a 40x like it did over here from like $10 or $12 all the way to like 400? No, I don't think so. I think that this has taken years of valuation into play. But I think it's probably end up gravitating up here to the horizontal level here at some point over the next year or 2 or 3. And if it does happen, I would not be surprised if it hits there by like the end of 2025 or early 2026. That's just for Tesla, that's just like a mere like 2.5x. Like that's nothing. Could it hit the arc up here and get to the triple digits by 2026, 2027? Possible, if this turns out to be where I think it's going to end up being. The next level is going to be up here, but the horizontal is going to be somewhat of a resistance. Maybe it doesn't serve as a good resistance. Maybe it just pushes through it and it back tests as support. And maybe the arc up here is going to be, pretty strong resistance here for quite some time. But I just can't help but to think that good things are coming for Tesla. If you don't do it again, if you don't believe in astrology, you don't believe in WD Gann, which is like a dead white guy that, like only the great Masby cares about. Just don't even worry about that. Look at the Bollinger Band. Independent analysis here. Look at the Bollinger Band. 20-month moving average, and this is what cycle behaviors are. Whenever you have a beginning of a cycle, you have the 20-month moving average curling up, serving as support, push price up higher. And whenever 20-month moving average start to kind of get exhausted, that's when it's no longer able to serve as support. Price is going to gravitate back to the 20, trying to backtest the support. If it's not able to bounce from it, then it becomes resistance, right? Especially if it's negative sloping. And it's been resistance here for about 2 years now. What have we done recently? You can see the same theme when technical analysis, when you have something that's turned from resistance here and we flip it back into support, generally pretty bullish things happen. And this is a monthly moving average that I like to look at. For whatever reason, 20-month moving average just gives me a very clear picture across the board. I'm just not just like throwing 20 here as for fun, right? I mean, I can show you how magical 20-month moving average has been for other stocks like Alibaba and things like that. But it just seemed like it's just trying to change trend here. It looks like it wants to keep pushing up, right? And this change of character from resistance to support, I think it's going to be extremely bullish for Tesla. I think it's going to give it enough energy, especially since given this consolidation here for like 3 years, it's going to push it to about 300, 400, and it's going to get to like 700. I really think that. it can happen in a hurry and it can catch a lot of people off guard. And it might not hit 700 per se necessarily. It could actually also get rejected here at 1.618, around $607. That's also going to be a pretty important level. It can push through that and end up just going sideways over here. But regardless, I think it's going up higher. The next level is going to watch out for 0.618, which is $300. The 0.786 is going to be also very, very important resistance level around 347. And then the previous all-time high around 414.5. You do have a lot of resistance levels here, but it's been building a base here. It's been forming some really, really nice support down below. And I think whenever this is Tesla, it can do whatever the heck it wants to do. It doesn't really care about what you say about the fundamentals and whatnot. And the last earnings actually is really, really good. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about fundamentals because that's not what you're here for. You can follow other people for that. Yeah, I'm bullish on Tesla. I don't know what else to say. Ichimoku Cloud, this is something the great Matsby has talked about. He made a post on Friday, anyway, he's extremely inappropriate. The great Matsby is a pervert, and I love him for it. But the whole idea is that the Tesla chart here is reclaiming the monthly Ichimoku Cloud. It got rejected here at the top, got supported here at the bottom. And he was talking about something magical that has happened that hasn't happened since really all the way back here around 2019, 2020, is that you finally had a bullish Tenkan Kijun cross. This has not happened. Initially, it was kind of flirting with that here a little bit, but with this big giant red candle in January, it really undid what could have happened. But right now, you had the bullish Tenkan Kijun cross. These things are bullish for a very long time. Whenever you have something that happened like this, it gets bullish for a very long time. Even here, had a bullish cross, minimally make from $12 all the way to 25. You minimally would double, right? Or you could end up having some really crazy thing where it just go 30, 40x. Now, I don't think it's going to happen, but I think that is also potentially can serve as a little bit of backbone. I also like how price is above the Tenkan Kijun. It could potentially serve as a little bit of a backbone for it to kind of touch a little bit and go higher. And I think that it has enough juice to break through 300, 350, and 400 to get to maybe 600 or 700. I really think so. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't have my life savings in Tesla. You saw my portfolio, I just have a position. I like to increase my exposure to Tesla if possible. But I'm very bullish on Tesla, and that's the reason why I'm bullish on it. I can talk about the lower time frame stuff, but it really doesn't matter. A lot of people get scared on the lower time frame. I don't care. It broke above the Ichimoku, and the Tenkan is rising. Can it go back down to 240s and frustrate the crap out of people? Yeah, it can. I don't care. I honestly the bull market support band's down here below. Can it go down to 226, 227, 225 to scare the heck out of people? Yeah, sure, that's fine. I would love to buy underneath 250 for longer. I don't know if the market maker is going to give me a chance to do that, but I would love to buy lower for longer, just because I'm kind of seeing what could happen. And I don't really care. I don't care what the market maker is going to do. A lot of support down here around 230, 240s, by the way. I'm not really scared. If it comes back down or lower, happy buyer. Holding on to what I got because I'm seeing a fundamental shift here in terms of the market structure. That is Tesla. Palantir. I did a poll on X. I was asking, what are you guys scared about the most, or what do you want me to talk about the most? Palantir is actually, nobody cares about NVIDIA, first of all, which is why I think NVIDIA is probably going to go up higher from here. I think it's already has breakouts going through 350 over the next 12 months. Palantir is the second stock that people are least interested in. A lot of people are really thinking that they have to close the weekly gap down here, the 31 or whatever. I think a lot of people are really eyeing these gap fill. A lot of people think that it's overextended. A lot of people think this stock is overvalued, even though it's probably got 30 or 40% annual growth ahead of it. Earnings is coming. Again, I never like to play earnings. Earnings is coming on Monday after close. A lot of volatility is expected. Right now, it's reasonable to be cautious. I can not stress that enough. It's reasonable to be cautious because technically speaking, it's broke about, and this I'm going to show this over and over again. It broke about the 0.786 and it wants to make all-time high. That's exactly what it wants to do, right? Even come back test the 0.786 almost, and it looks like it wants to make all-time highs. That's what the stock looks like it wants to do. It's at resistance from the previous all-time high wick over here. It's waiting for its earnings. Earnings is always a gamble. If you're a gambling cat, feel free to gamble. I don't care. I'm going to hold on to every single share that I have. The downside risk, what's the absolute downside risk? 0.786, $29. Do I think it's going to go down all the way down to $29? No. Do I even think it's going to close the gap down here at 31? Probably not. If it does, great. I get a chance to load up again. Like I honestly think that earnings has been kind of telling you that this is a 30 to 40% annual growth company. And if it goes, yeah, and I think that it's going to get better and better over time. So if it comes back down on a long term perspective and it comes back down, I'm going to buy more. Why is it not coming back down? Why is there no guarantee? Well, there's never any guarantee in life because a lot of people are trying to get into the stock. A lot of people are trying to get into the stock. I remember back here, and I've been charting Palantir for a very long time. I remember going back down here whenever the stock made a huge move above and almost got close to 0.618 here. A lot of people up here are saying, oh, it's going to come back down to like $10 to under $10 to 8, 9, whatever, because that's what they're accustomed to, right? It never did that. It never did that. A lot of people saying, oh, there's a head and shoulder pattern here. I was basically spending like weeks and weeks and months disputing this is a head and shoulder pattern that's not going to work out because of a bull line support band that's rising. It's probably going to end up pushing price up higher. And a lot of people, you end up like shorting here, you're going to get burned. They got burned. Anyway, there's a reason why I think that there's a change of behavior because you have a long-term trend that has changed from bearish to bullish, and the bullishness may have just gotten started. If you're into the whole like Elliott wave theory thing, I think this is wave 1. You have a prolonged wave 2 sideways here, and then wave 3 is just starting. It can go up a lot higher. It doesn't always have to go up in a straight line. You can come back test some things and go back up. But there are a lot of support levels down here below. I think there's a lot of similarities. If you just look at the bullish band fractal here, there's a lot of similarities between this huge bull run over here and also this huge bull run over here. A lot of similarities. What are similarities? Well, just look at how the Bollinger Band initially has expanded, and now you're starting to contract it a little bit. I do think that the bull gone sideways here for about 4 weeks. I do think it's maybe getting a little bit tired, but I still think that we probably got a little bit more juice. And if your earnings didn't do very well, you might end up coming back down to like the high 30s or even like the mid 30s, and it could suck for me because this is my biggest stock holding. It could come back to like the high 30s and even like the mid 30s if it doesn't do well. It could. I just like the fact that it's doing nothing and not running up like crazy right before earnings. And I like the fact that so far, the last week you have a downtrend right into earnings from like $45 to like 43. You already have like an 8% drawdown already, or 6%, so 7% drawdown already over this week, right? I like that right before earnings. This is actually a good thing. Could it go down further? Sure. 37, 38, possible. But I see a lot of similarities between here and here where you have starting to have a little bit of exhaustion, but because of how bullish the bull trend is, you might end up making another higher high like it did over here. It might making another higher high up here. Who knows where it's going to hit? I would not be surprised if it ends up hitting like 1.618 and then just come anyway. A little bit too far ahead of myself. I don't want to do that. But it could end up hitting some higher levels up here, maybe like 50s. I can totally see like maybe like low 50s or mid 50s. Come back test the previous all-time high, and then go right. But I just have a hard time seeing it just plummet all the way down to like 29. Like that's not how market structures generally work. Like it just doesn't have this big giant bull trend like this and it just plummet down. Like that's just not how it works. You have a lot of really strong bullish sentiment that's been happening on the monthly chart here. Price is still on the first day of trading on November. Price is still outside the upper Bollinger Band. You're asking for a correction, right? I think it's completely reasonable for it to come down here to like the high 30s before further bullish continuation. It can even go down and kind of engulf this candle over here. I see this in a very, very similar manner. Sorry, I see this in a very, very similar manner as Bitcoin, because just because of the morphology, because of the fractal, because I think it just looks like it wants to do certain things that just really kind of stood out to me. I'm going to pull up the Bollinger Band here. I think it looks very, very similar to what happened in the bull cycle here. Let me get rid of the volume here. I think it looks very, very similar to the bull cycle here. I'm going to try and line up these charts over here side by side if I can. But there's a lot of similar morphology between these two, where I think that Palantir is just starting to kind of pick up its bullishness, right? I see it hitting a snag here at the previous all-time high, like how Bitcoin was back in 2017. And it got, a little bit of a volatility here. You have a big giant candle over here with a lot of wicks above and below. I can see that happening with Palantir. I can see earnings doing really well, pushes above, and the next thing you know, people would just end up tanking the stock back down to like the high 30s and just create a huge amount of volatility. And I can totally see that happening, right? But overall, this is a very parabolic bull trend. I see it at a very, very similar level over here as it is over here. In the Bollinger Band morphology, you have the expansion, the contraction, expansion, contraction, maybe a little bit of expansion here that's coming soon. And whenever it goes up higher, it could push like the 1.618 in 2025. I can totally see that happening. It can pull years and years of valuation ahead of time, and you might end up suffering for years after that, waiting for stock to kind of go sideways here to go up when everybody's bullish. Not everybody's bullish. Like the FOMO haven't even kicked in for Palantir. Nobody wants to buy here at this price. Nobody cares about Palantir when I was talking about it. You guys probably also don't even care. But I think that it's something big is going to happen. I just want to spend some time talking about Palantir because it's one of the stocks that I think will do pretty well over the next year or two. Let me just put it that way. I don't know whether or not it's going to do the same thing here, but just look at the similarity. It broke about the 0.786 here, right? It broke about the 0.786 here, right? And it moonshot it to all-time highs. I think it's the same thing's going to happen if you give enough time for Palantir to do that. But that's not without any like plus or minus 20% volatility, right? Like over here for March 2017, you have a candle here for Bitcoin that goes up as high as like 1,350, as low as like 900, right? That's a lot of volatility. Can that happen here? Can this be like a wick up above and below for November? It's entirely possible. I mean, like you're over outside the upper Bollinger Band here, outside upper Bollinger Band here. There's just a lot of similarities between these two charts. I'm not saying this has to work out, but I'm just saying that this is the market structure that Palantir is reminding of. And whenever you have something this parabolic up like this, usually it doesn't just like go V shape and just go down to the 0.786. It can. If it does, oh man, like that's going to be like a great level to load up on. And I might have to cry because my portfolio is going to go down like 20-30%. But yeah, I'm not going to bet against this. This is a longer term play for me. So that's Palantir. I already talked about NVIDIA. I want to talk about a couple other stocks here that a lot of people are excited about. A lot of people are excited about SMCI because they love catching falling knives. Do I think that SMCI has bottomed? I don't know. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I don't know. Look at this candle that has closed, this 2-week candle that has closed, has like no wick down below. And you are hitting a horizontal zone over here. You are hitting the Ichimoku cloud over here. That's support here, support here. Could you end up having a little bit of a dead cat bounce after find support here? You do have earnings coming, by the way, for SMCI on Tuesday after close. So a lot of volatility is expected. Could it keep going down with earnings? With it already plummeted down with earnings like this? I bet earnings is you're going to end up having a bounce off of the 2-week Ichimoku cloud and going up and make a lower high, maybe around like the high 30s. And I think that would be the time to exit. as far as I'm concerned, if you're still in it. It might not make it to the high 30s. It might just kind of make it to like mid 30s, low 30s. I think it's just way oversold. Like it's just way oversold here. It's not oversold here on the weekly though, right? It can keep going down lower, which is a very scary thing. But it's just like way oversold here on the daily. It's asking for a bounce back up to the 30s. If you want to trade, and again, I don't know that for sure because it can end up having just price doesn't always have to retrace back to the mean on a short period of time. It can actually just kind of hover around here, kind of like it did over here. You have 3 really bearish candle way outside the lower Bollinger Band, and price just kind of went sideways, went up a little bit, and just plummeted, right? So there's no guarantee that it's going to go back to the high 30s. There's no guarantee of that. It can, and that would be a trade, but it could also just go to like $30 because this gap over here is also going to be resistance. It could end up going to $30 and it just kind of gets stuck there and then go down further. This is a bear trend, guys. I don't know what else to say, but it's overextended to the downside. So if you want to trade, you want to be like a degen about it, not financial advice, feel free. I do think it's at a pretty good bouncy area. It's probably going to be bouncy. I just don't know how far it's going to bounce. There's no guarantee that it's going to go back to the mid 30s or like the high 30s. But if it does, man, there's going to be so much selling pressure. A lot of people are going to try to get out of this stock. It's not even funny, If you look at the monthly Bollinger Band, the bull trend for SMCI has exhausted. The 20-month moving average has flipped from resistance over here to support over here in 2019, and you've had a bull trend that price had gone from like $1.06 all the way to like 120. And right now you broke underneath a 20-month moving average. You had a failed back test over here, and yeah, it looks like it wants to go down a lot lower. So the exit point, I just told you. I would not want to get involved in this because I'm also not a trader. AMD. What's AMD doing? Should you be scared about AMD? The earnings were terrible, right? Actually, it's not that terrible. I think the price action was terrible short term. It got a lot of people really flustered. Made a video about AMD. What I think about AMD. Still looks okay. Very nice bottom over here. I think you got like a little bit of a trident or like a fork bottom over here. I think it's probably going to end up going a lot higher. So yeah, I'm bullish on AMD. I think it's going to do pretty decent moving forward. And it's just basically backtesting or getting close to backtesting the 20-month moving average. This whole downtrend over here is on declining volume. So all it takes is just a little bit of volume to kind of kick back into AMD before things go up higher. I just showed you the macro view. I think that, the S&P 500 is under resistance, but QQQ is, trying to break above for a very long time now. Looks like AMD is probably going to end up finding support here, probably going to end up going higher. Let's look at the FIB level here, shall we? It backtested the a rising 20-month moving average. It backtested 0.786. It backtested the horizontal level over here of the GAN almost perfectly, right? So there's a lot of support levels, confluent support levels, and the ARK here too. A lot of confluent support levels that's already backtested because it found support with the ARK, with the horizontal, with the 0.786, with a rising 20-month moving average. I think it's going to break back above. Like that's what the market structure is telling me it's going to do. I think it's going to probably end up going to break back above, right? Especially the 0.786 is holding. I'm pretty bullish on NVIDIA moving forward. The only question is, am I as bullish on AMD as I am with NVIDIA? Because I just gave you a price target. I hate giving price targets, by the way, because they're more like a guideline. They're not a guarantee. But the top of the arc over here, sorry, not top, the top of the square over here around 360, 1.678 around 325. That could be your upsides here. But NVIDIA might do the same. And I think that NVIDIA probably has a little bit more guaranteed to nothing's guaranteed. I take that back. Probably going to end up hitting that area a lot more likely than AMD, but AMD's been looking pretty decent too. I cannot be that bearish overall on the market structure because it just looks like Bitcoin. Like if you're bullish on Bitcoin, you shouldn't be bearish on AMD, right? What do I mean by that? It looks like Bitcoin, right? And Bitcoin is breaking out. AMD is not broken out yet, but it's a big giant cup and handle. It looks like it wants to go higher. I just, yeah, you can't beat bearish AMD bullish on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin looks pretty bullish. So I rest my case. AMD is looking pretty decent. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Bitcoin and miners, but I'm going to go pee here. So give me like a couple of minutes. I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to write down here in case of people like joining me late. I'm going to put up a Bitcoin chart here. I love Bitstamp version, by the way. And I'm going to put down here on big text here. Gotta pee. Be back in a few. I'll be back. I'm back. Yes, I wash my hands, my paws, whatever you call it. I think humans call it hands, so I'm just going to call it hands. Bitcoin. I've been doing these like 4-hour charts, and it's been working out pretty well. But at some point, they're not going to work out well at all. And I think we're getting a little bit closer to the end of this Gann square here. So let's kind of speculate what's going to happen here. The 4-hour Gann chart here that I've drawn, that posts on X like all over the place, has really been kind of playing out pretty beautifully. All I did really was just I put the low point here on October 10th, and did a Gann square here on a log scale from 180 to 100, duration and ratio. It gave me a lot of really beautiful symmetry here, where it just kind of break through arc, backtest arc, go to the next arc, break through arc, false breakout, broke back down. So far, we're holding here, you got a little bit of like a BART pattern. For those people who don't know what BART patterns are, Bitcoin does these things where it likes to just BART up and just form like a BART head, where there's a lot of spikes up here, and it's just like finish a BART and just, the phase here. You draw a Bart Simpson's phase over here. That's what it looks like. There's a potential where this is like a reverse BART, where you draw like Bart Simpson's phase like around here with the eyes over here. Like you can see that it potentially end up waking back up and push through. The only concern that I have about that theory, would be that there's a lot of degens, if you will, that are really trying to ruin the party here. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. So the chart here, even the 12 hours is going to show you a little more clear picture here. A lot of people ask me like what this is. I really picked this up from, I knew these things existed. I just didn't know like how to, like they're free. Apparently you can get this with like CoinGlass, and these things are free. The biggest thing is that you have these kinds of liquidation maps. I'm going to zoom out here and kind of tell you like how these things generally work. Well, it's actually not a very good picture, but basically let's look at a 48 hour here. What this basically tells you is that within like 48 hours or so, you have these kind of heat maps over here. If price hits a certain level that is shown here, and price is usually going to end up gravitating towards like the heated areas on a heat map. If price hit a certain area, then market makers get to liquidate certain leverage position. Like these are basically the stop loss, or basically a lot of people are able to go on Binance or other exchanges, and they're able to do these like 100x leverage positions. But if price ends up hitting a certain area, then they get liquidated. And these are the prices where they end up getting liquidated, right? The bulls end up getting liquidated. Most likely, if price goes back down to around like 68,500 or so, maybe a little bit lower. And the bears up here might end up getting liquidated if price ends up going back about to like 70,500 or so, right? Initially, it was looking pretty decent. You have a lot of degens where like a lot of bears were trying to short Bitcoin here, but over the last few hours or so, like really over the last day or so, a lot of people were trying to long Bitcoin around these levels, and they're going to end up probably getting liquidated around 68,500. I can see maybe even a little bit lower. It can wick down. They can be pretty, pretty scary. I'm hoping it happens during the weekend, so it doesn't affect like Coinbase. It doesn't affect the miners, things like that. But I can totally see it happening. Like right now, the degens are just asking for it, right? It can have a lot of volatility, maybe tomorrow into Monday, and it can eat your shorts and your longs. And it's just going to keep doing what it wants to do. Like these are just short-term moves. I don't think there's anything to get worried about. But yes, I would say like 68,500 is the lower area. 70,500 is the upper area. Like they're probably going to end up being range bound. You're probably going to see like a lot of volatility that are going to come. The 4-hour chart, if you're looking at this as a BART pattern, I think it can end up going up. But the only issue is I also see this being a little bit of a descending triangle. And descending triangle is generally bearish. Like it keeps on tapping the 69,000 level, which is a very important level, by the way, because over here it got rejected. Basically, all of this right here is just a back test of a breakout level. And that's kind of what it's doing right now. Like there's nothing bearish about this, but whenever you have a back test, sometimes you can end up going down below further to like next levels, even if it's a back test, right? It doesn't always have the back test right at where it got rejected as resistance last time. Like it doesn't always have to do that perfectly. It can go down lower. It can certainly wick down lower, right? And you do have a little bit of a decent triangle look to it. So I'm a little bit more cautious. It also is looking like it's breaking down underneath the Super Ichi here. It also is looking like it may be breaking down the Ichimoku cloud over here. So there's a potential for it to go down lower, grab liquidity, like to screw the all degenerates, because just don't do leverage positions. Like you're going to end up getting liquidated. Like unless if you can time these things really well on like the 30-minute chart. If like for the average folks, like you're going to end up getting liquidated. That's what's going to happen to you if you think that you're opening up like a 10x or 100x position and just sit there for like the bull market to happen. And you're going to make a bunch of gains. Like generally, it's probably not going to happen. They're going to grab your position, and you're going to end up like screwing the price of Bitcoin. I can totally see it. Maybe by Sunday, get inside the arc here, and then ride down the arc here, grab some liquidity down below around like 68,000, 500, maybe a little bit lower, and then kind of push through the arc and go higher. I can totally see that. I can totally see maybe price even broke about the angle here and then back tested it going down. And then on Monday or Tuesday, go down to these lower levels, grab liquidity before further bullish continuation because of something like this. And because it's got like a little bit of a decent triangle look to it. So, but just look at how beautiful this Gann chart is. Like I can't complain about too much. But I think overall trend though, I think these are all like kind of short-term things. It doesn't really matter to me whatsoever. And if the bull market for the stock, if IWM ends up breaking above and become really bullish, I think miners and Coinbase don't do very well. So I'm not really worried about it on a higher time frame, but I just kind of want to show you what I'm seeing here because I think it's important. On the weekly chart, I really cannot get too bearish about Bitcoin. You have like somebody called like credible crypto who has like 500,000 followers on X, keep on calling lower prices to like 58,000, things like that. I guess it makes sense, you know, to tap down here to go higher, but I just don't think it has to. The bullish structure here is telling me I think that it will do very well. The only issue is like if the week end up closing like this, like with a little bit of a shooting star look to it, like a inverted hammer look to it, it does open up more door for it to kind of go down further. Generally, these are a little bit more like bearish look to it, right? But it doesn't always have to. Like Bitcoin has been screwing with me for so long now with like a Marubasu candle over here that end up just not going very high and having like bearish engulfing candle after that. And then you end up having another Marubasu candle here with another Marubasu candle over here that basically is like bearish engulfing. Another Marubasu candle here that followed with a red candle over here. So Bitcoin doesn't really give a damn about what I think. You have a little bit of a bearish hammer candle up here that can be a little bit like a shooting star type candle. These things generally lean bearish, but there are a few things here that just makes me lean a little bit more bullish here because a lot of the supports down below have already been tested, including Tenkan and Kitchen here. You had a bullish crosshair on the weekly, back tested the Ichimoku Cloud going a lot higher. The Ichimoku Cloud has flipped from resistance to support. That's a very, very bullish thing. It doesn't have to come back test it anymore. If it does right now, the bottom right now the top Ichimoku Cloud is around 60,000. If it does, I don't think it's necessarily going to have to hit like 58,000 or whatever. Like, I don't know. I just don't see it necessarily have to happen. Bull market support bands also turn positive. It's flipped it from resistance to support. If it has to come back test it down, you have pretty strong support here, also around like 63,000, right? You have a lot of things that have happened. Super Cloud, right now, top Super Cloud around 63,000, a lot of confluence around there. So if it has to come back down, back test, I think that would be like the very strong support level. 58,000 maybe a dream because you also had the bottom Ichimoku Cloud around like 59,000.4 or something like that. I just don't really necessarily expect that to happen anymore at this point, right? If you do a little bit of a, let me just kind of play around here with the Gann chart here from the bottom. Stop doing that. From the bottom, and I'm going to do like 180. I haven't looked at this for a while. Let's do 1,000. It does look like it is hitting some resistance levels up here, right? It looks like it's holding a 45-degree angle here very well, but it does look like it wants to try to break about this current resistance zone over here. Is having a little bit of a hard time doing so. Just look at how beautiful the market symmetry is, by the way. It looks like it wants to break about the arc, looks like it wants to break about the horizontal. It just has a hard time. I think it will. Let me see if I can change it to, no, I can't do 100. If you do a 500 here, you also can see that it's also at resistance. Like almost doesn't matter what number I put, it still gives you a really, really beautiful market symmetry. This is the power of the Gann. If I do 500, you can see this arc over here is resistance. Arc over here was stuck and pushed through here. Basically, it's been stuck in a range between this horizontal zone over here, right at around 72,000. and this ARK going down, right? You backtest the ARK like 100,000 times, and it basically price action is saying, I'm going to leave the ARK now. I'm going to try to really challenge this horizontal zone over here. It also have an ARK resistance up here above too, right? So yeah, some resistance here to kind of break through above. But I do think that it's built up enough energy for it to want to do that. It just looks like a very, very, beautiful market structure, and it looks more bullish here. Just zooming out, I really can't be bearish on this big giant cup and handle. I just can't. It looks like we're wanting to leave the handle. So once it breaks out, it's not going to look back. But before it breaks out, it's going to frustrate the crap out of all of you. And stop doing this, okay? Just stop it. Stop doing this. Yeah, that's the nutshell of Bitcoin here on the weekly chart. If you want to look at the monthly chart in terms of what I think, like what Bitcoin's going to do, I think Bitcoin's going to do very well. On the higher time frame chart, well, I'm no longer peeing, so I'm going to get rid of that. On higher time frame chart, and this is really from Bitstamp, I have like price history all the way from 2012, and this is 360 and 10,000. When I do it this way, you can see this beautiful market symmetry where each of this ARK has been resistance pretty much for each of the cycles. And whenever each of the cycle has happened, you have basically a 1-2 tap, 1-2 tap, and 1-2 tap, forming a higher low before it breaks above the ARK and go higher, right? You have the 1-2 tap here, break above the ARK, back test the ARK here. You cannot unsee BART. I know, magical. Once you see BART, you don't unsee it. That's just the way it works. But you look at just how beautiful this market symmetry is. Like I don't know like what else to really say about it. I think Bitcoin is probably going to hit like 200,000 this cycle, and it looks like it's building up a lot of energy for it to be able to do that. Can it hit the ARK up here this cycle like it did every single time before that? I don't know, because the ARK up here is like something ridiculous, right? Like I'm not gonna bet on that. I think it could hit the ARK up here maybe like around $500,000 around like 2027, 2028, maybe. But I'm not gonna bet on that. Do I think Bitcoin's gonna hit like 200,000? Possibly. Just looking at the market symmetry, I think it's possible. Getting rid of this and just simply look at the Ichimoku cloud. You have something called a Tenkan, which is the blue line over here. During bull markets, it serves as a support level to push price up higher. Just look at how in the 2015, 2016, 2017 bull market, whenever the Tenkan, the blue line gets flipped from resistance here to support, the bull market can go on for a very long time, especially after bullish Tenkan Kijun cross. Right? Sometimes it's going to end up coming back test the Kijun down here. But overall, the Tenkan, the blue line, is going to serve as pretty good support, push price up higher. And it can go on for quite some time when that happens. What's happening right now? We have flipped the Tenkan from resistance to support. And right now, it looks like it wants to push the bull market up higher. It couldn't even touch the Kijun down here. It just looks like the Tenkan wants to push price up higher. Whenever price is up here around March, when everybody's getting super excited because there's almost like it's going to challenge its previous all-time high, I said it's probably going to be at least like 3 months of sideways. I didn't think it was going to be like 6 or 7, 8 months. But you have to wait for the Tenkan to come catch up. I really thought that whenever it touched back in July, whenever it touched the Tenkan, I thought that could have been it. But nah, it ended up just keep touching the Tenkan here, waiting for it to keep rising as support. But these are all kind of like smaller time frame kind of stuff. Like honestly, it doesn't really matter. I think Bitcoin's going higher. Just looking at this, I can like this is a very bullish market structure. I don't have anything else to say about it. All right, enough about Bitcoin because I took about 20 minutes talking about Bitcoin. So a lot of people are asking me about the usual stocks, MSTR. Let's talk about MSTR here for a second. What do I think about MSTR? I think it's a bullish chart. It flipped the Tenkan Kijun here from resistance here to support. I'm going to go for speed mode here just because I want to finish off a lot of things, right? MSTR, resistance here, Tenkan Kijun, flipping the support, go higher. That's what I see. Broke through the cloud over here, didn't even bother back testing it. This is like an absolutely like amazing look to it. If I have to, you can also see even on a higher time frame, it like flipped the taking a picture here from resistance to support, and it looks like it wants to keep going higher. Now, going back to a lower time frame here, it did have a little bit of a katana here. It does look like it wants to just keep going higher. It's a little bit overextended, both in terms of the weekly Ichimoku, also both in terms of the Bollinger Band. It's very nicely being expanded. You already built a huge base over here. A lot of reaccumulation has happened. Looks like it wants to go up higher, but simply just it cannot because it's way outside the weekly upper Bollinger Band. The weekly Bollinger Band is both expanding to upside and downside, and 20-week moving average is pointing up. So most likely you're going to want to go up higher, but it just has to follow gravity, so it's just doing its thing. And that's the reason why, like, if you ask me, like, oh, why is this so bad? Why was Monday? Why is Friday so bad? Why do you have such a bad downturn here? Well, I mean, the Bollinger Band just started to expand, and last month you got way outside the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly, and so far this month, where's the upper Bollinger Band at right now? Around 236.4. And price similarly just kind of got a little bit back inside the upper Bollinger Band here. I don't think there's anything to worry about. Even price come back down, back test like 180. I don't think there's anything to worry about. But I'm insane. Like I can handle the market volatility. It can go down like 20, 30%. I don't care. It's a bullish structure. You have inside candles here, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inside candles of this, bullish engulfing candle here for like 6 month of price action. You broke above of it. It's going to go up a lot higher. It doesn't have to go up a straight line and go down further before going higher, but it's going a lot higher. How high do I think it's going to go? Let's talk about that in a little bit. But the monthly Bollinger Band on the lower Bollinger Band has re-expanded. Like this thing looks like it wants to keep going higher. I don't know what else to say. Higher high, maybe a higher low at some point, but it doesn't have to anytime soon. It's simply just a little bit overextended. It's doing its thing. If you look at the weekly here, I do have a little bit of a Gantt chart here being drawn. Also have the Fibonacci sequence here from this previous previous cycle high to the low. You can see that what it's doing right now is just simply got stuck here underneath the arc over here, and underneath it got rejected here or at the horizontal Gann level here. It looks like it's just been pushing and it's been coming back down, back tested 0.786 almost perfectly twice, broke back up above the cycle high, broke through the arc over here, broke through the 1.618, which it got close to being rejected over here, back tested the horizontal, back tested 1.618. It's probably going to go up higher. It's probably going to at least go up to like 2.618, which is around $322. It's not going to get there in a straight line. What if it comes back down, back tests the 1.618 here around 205? That's entirely possible. Oh my God, that's so scary. That's like 10% down move in order for you to make potentially another like 50% up move. That is so scary. I'm so scared. What should I do? Well, sell out. Don't be in it. I don't care. It can go down further to this arc down here, like 180. Oh no, that's so scary. I'm so scared. Like it's just like another 30% down. What can I do? I'm gonna cry. I was thinking to make like 50% up, and you're telling me there's potential for it to go down 30% down. Well, that's what happens when price is right smack in the middle of resistance and support. And the trend is up. The trend is up. Like I don't know like what else to say. The trend is up. So sorry, I shouldn't sound so like antagonistic and arrogant. I should hold your hands a little bit more and be an advocate for you rather than being mean. But I can see it hitting 320, downside risk 205, maybe a little bit lower to like 180. Trend is up, so I'm going to favor it going up. How high do I think the bull cycle is going to go? Probably going to end up hitting like 400 to 500. But if Bitcoin's going 200,000, I'm going to change it to a log scale here. If Bitcoin's going 200,000, I think it's probably going to hit at least like 542. Do I think that is going to hit like 5,000? Probably not. I'm going to open up do I think it's potentially for most strategy to 10x from here to like $2,434.93. It's possible. It's possible if Bitcoin goes up from here to like 200,000, it'd be like 3x. MicroStrategy can make a 10x. Sure, possible. Does it have to? No. But just use that to kind of capture your imagination. It's a bull trend. If you worry about the 30% move down, then like yeah. So that's what I think about MicroStrategy. Going to Coinbase here. I did make a video for like members only Coinbase, but I do want to mention a few things here. in terms of what I'm thinking. I think that right now the risk reward ratio still skews to the upside on a higher time frame, because on the monthly chart, there's really nothing bearish about the monthly chart, way above the 20-month moving average. Right now, it's got like a trident like bottom look to it. I think this has bottomed, very similar to what it did over here. Again, if November is the month to be remembered, then you can have a potential God candle here that's going to push against all of these resistance levels over here, at least back to like the upper Bollinger Band here around like 280. If November is not the month to remember, maybe December is the month to remember. But like I just think there's a lot of similarities between here, this like trident kind of thing, to here, and you have like a tweezer here, a lot of wicks down below. This looks favorable for bullish continuation, even if the downside is at the volume shelf down here around 160, low 160s, right? Or mid 160s, right? That's going to be your downside. You already back tested some of the volume shelf levels down below. It held. That's what this trident did. So I don't necessarily think it has to go down that much further. I think that the earnings were a little bit of an overreaction. And I think it's probably going to do pretty decent overall. Now, but if I have to say this though, you do have a little bit of a bearish formation here on the weekly. This is a little bit like an evening star kind of look to it. Generally, these things lean a little bit more bearish, but all of these are basically still inside candles to this candle over here. And right now, if it's inside candles, like most likely you're still going to end up, with probability speaking, still going to end up going up higher. You have a Matabasu candle here that didn't work out. So why do I think that this downtrend is going to have to work out? I would like the 20-week moving average to be a little bit more positive sloping. I like to see the bull run support band here to be a little bit more positive sloping. It's just probably going to need more time, maybe another few weeks for it to kind of do what it has to do. What's the downside risk for Coinbase? 170, 160s. The absolute bottom, I think the downside risk is probably like 162. Does it have to go down that much further? I don't know. If it goes down that much further, I'm gonna cry so hard in the short term. It's gonna be so sad. Not really, but I do want to let you know like what my risk tolerance is probably going to be more tolerant than most. The downside risk is going to be around the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud here, which is around 165, which is also coincidentally where the huge volume shelf over here is at, which is also where you got like these 3 wicks over here. So that's why I don't think it's necessarily going to have to go down that much further. It's just back testing this volume shelf over here. And it's got a lot of resistance zone up here too, so it's just not ready, even though you had a Matabasu candle here to suggest further bullish continuation. It just didn't work out. Yeah, but you have some support level. Initially, I was hoping that it would close above the weekly Tengen here around 185. It didn't do that. They went going down lower. It broke above the 2-week Ichimoku cloud, right? It broke about, and this candle also had closed as well. It broke about the weekly Ichimoku cloud. Initially, I was hoping they would hold at the confluent zone over here around 183.8, somewhere around there, and that would be like back test the top of the cloud here and the kitchen, the red line over here. It did close a little bit below that. That doesn't really bother me. It's still an inside candle, and overall, I still think that this is a reversal that is building up, kind of like how it was over here. I think that it's probably just going to need a little bit more time before it goes up higher. But overall, I'm going to turn off all these indicators here. Don't worry about any of this. Bullish cross range bound right now between Tengen and Kitchen. I'm not bearish on Coinbase. I think it's going to go up higher over time. It's just going to take its time, and I'm going to cry if it goes down to 165 or 162. I'm going to cry because I have CoinL, which is 2x Coinbase. If it goes down that much further, you're talking about like 8% downturn. You're talking about like, or maybe even like 8% downturn. My CoinL is going to go down like 15%. I'm going to cry. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to probably end up rotating more of my Coinbase stock to CoinL. I like Cornell. I like Cornell better than I like Harvard and Brown and Yale. So I like Cornell. I'm going to be verbal about it. I'm so cheesy. I'm sorry. Coinbase done. Miners. I have another 20-something minutes to talk about miners. But before I do, I have a couple of chart requests here by Bian. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. ARLP, WRB. Let me go ahead and pull those up. Oh yeah. Wow. This looks like meta. Oh my god. Wow. Alliance Resource Partners. Wow. Okay. I see why you requested this. Um, I don't even have to say anything. I mean, it's at a pretty strong resistance level here that dates back all the way to like 2008. Um, I wow. This is a chart beyond that if I was loading up down here, I just wouldn't touch my position. But I sure as heck I'm not gonna buy at resistance that has gone to like 15 years, 20 years ago. I'm just not gonna buy it here. But if I was buying like down here, I would probably just end up holding because it looks like it's gonna blow. And when it blows, it's not gonna blow right away necessarily. I do think that these kinds of charts usually would come back, break above. Probably if it ends up breaking above, I can see just eyeballing this and see it going to like 30, maybe low 30s, getting rejected, coming back down, back test the level, and then just run. If it doesn't, it can go back down and back test another level, but it looks like it wants to break up. But if it doesn't, it can go back down to like 25, 24, 23, find some solidified support here, go up higher. The reason why I say that is because I like the Trezo look over here. I don't think it has to go down further than like 23 to back test. I'm not even using any indicators. I'm just like looking at this. I'm like, wow. Ichimoku cloud, bullish cross, Tenkan, Kijin, back tested. No problem. Good to go. Might come back and back test some of the levels down here 25, 24, 23. I don't think it has to go down lower than that. The 20-month moving average, very nicely expanding. Initially, this looks like a very, very scary look where 2022, where you might have a little bit of trend change here for longer, but negative slipping, turn positive slipping. Now Bollinger Band is expanding. This thing's going to go higher, but it's at resistance, right? So be a little bit more careful about that. The weekly, you're still waiting for weekly Bollinger Band to expand. I can totally see it not being ready to push up yet. If it does push up, then great. It will go a lot higher and back test the current resistance zone. If it doesn't, then I think the risk level may be around like 24, 23, because you got a lot of support here down below. Rising Tenkan, rising Kijin around 24, 23. I don't even have to tell you, like, I don't even pull up these indicators to tell you that that's what I'm thinking. So that's kind of what I'm saying. Bollinger Band expanding. Again, you're just going to have to wait for it to expand before price can push through the resistance level. But this is a pretty bullish chart. I'm also going to put one thing here is that you have increasing volume here, which is always a good thing. Increased volume going to resistance, it's not a bad thing. So we'll see how it plays out, but it looks like a pretty bullish chart. If you're asking me, like in terms of the targets, I'm not even gonna get you like all psyched up because there's no need for that. Whenever you have price that went from like 20 something to like $2, it's gonna go a lot higher. I'm just gonna do like a 30 GAN here from this green candle here. The magnet, come back down here. There you go. Gonna do a 30 GAN here, 360. Man, it's been close to 2 hours. I'm losing my voice. 361. Yeah, not very good smart symmetry. Let me just do 0.5 here, see what I'm seeing. A little bit better. Another confluence here tell you that we're right at resistance. Like, you can't make this up. This is resistance, right? Not just from years ago, but also a resistance at the GAN. Got rejected here at the arc over here. Was able to break through here. Broke down underneath the 45-degree angle. Wasn't able to hold, but it's okay. I mean, eventually made its way to the arc over here. You're at resistance. Beyond. I don't know if I want to buy it here. But yeah, but if you break above resistance, probably going to put back test some of the stuff down here before going. But I think that if it's able to break above this area, it can hit the arc up here, depending on where it hits. I think one area, confluent area, maybe 2025. And this is just like complete speculation. September 2025, $52. Okay. All right. I'm done, I'm done talking about this. WRB. Dan, you're talking about AMP, the altcoin, I'm assuming. I'm going to show you the chart here. I have a position AMP I just kind of bought a little bit recently. I'll tell you why. WRB, let's look at it. Zoom out here. Yeah, Dan, don't worry, I got you. Man, This also looks like a very bullish chart. Just look at a higher time frame. I have nothing bad to say about it, just eyeballing it. What are we seeing here? Let's put some indicator. Ichimoku Cloud, very nice support over here at the Tenkan on the monthly, right? On the weekly, kind of stuck inside a range right now. You're kind of losing a little bit of momentum on a bull trend. And I don't have to show you like the indicators, but I can. You have a bearish divergence here. Like I can just look at this. Like you already know you have bearish divergence where price kind of gone up a little bit, and you have RSI kind of trending down a little bit. Bearish divergence being worked up right now. How far does it go down? I don't know. If it goes down to like $53, is that the worst thing in the world? No, it's actually a pretty decent thing. It can reset a lot of these indicators and maybe build up some hidden bullish divergence for it to go up higher, or it can just end up finding support here around 56.65 like it did over here. But it looks like the bull trend is a little bit exhausted. You have a little bit of bearish divergence. It might take a little bit longer to play out. I don't think it's necessarily just going to like moonshot from here because it's a pretty big move all the way from like 37 all the way to like 62. It's just cooling down and it's doing what it needs to do. There's nothing bad about it. I do see a lot of similarities between here and here. You see how what happens where you have price go up on bearish divergence. It doesn't have to crash, obviously. 2022 is a little bit anomaly, but you see what happens where if price kind of going up bearish divergence. I think there's a chance for it to hit the cloud, like $53. Again, if I bought down here, I don't care. I'm just going to keep holding. But right now, would I want to buy like on the bearish divergence? Probably not. But if you don't care, if it goes down like a few percent to like 53, that's fine. But that's going to be like the risk level that you have here. Things can always go up on bearish divergence, go up a lot higher, but I'm leaning a little bit more like short-term bearish, long-term bullish, obviously. There's really nothing bearish about this chart longer term here with a monthly Bollinger Band expanding to an upside. Wherever it's done correcting stuff down here, I think 53 is going to be a pretty reasonable area for the bounce. Like the upper Bollinger is expanding, so I think eventually it's done whatever. It can even come back all the way down to like 50 to like the rising 20-month moving average and back test it. That would still not be a bad thing, because you're basically just flipping from resistance here to support, and you can go up a lot higher because of that, right? But I probably wouldn't buy here on a bearish divergence here. A little bit, scary for me to want to get in right now, although the downside is probably not that much. Let's look at a long-term GAN here. Why don't we just do that for fun? And I'll go into AMP, and I'm going to talk about miners. And I'm going to end the show. 360. Blah, there you go. 360 and 1. Where are we at right now? Maybe a little bit more upside to go. Where's the angle down here if it decides to back test? Around 50, right? If it goes up, touch the arc here again, around $62 like it did over here on this wick, then yeah, probably going to get rejected. Probably going to come back down to the low 50s to build up more energy to push through. That's kind of what I'm seeing here. But overall, it's a very bullish chart. There's really nothing to complain about at all. Like that's the thing. I put in these numbers, 361. It just automatically just gives me a 45-degree angle. Like I don't have to fudge. I don't have to move around. Look at how nice the 45-degree angle has been holding over the years since the great financial crisis, right? It's amazing. So you're going to end up probably getting rejected here at ARK here a little bit. Or maybe you already had gotten the rejection here, and maybe it's going to come down here to the angle around 50 like it did over here, right? I don't know. But like overall, I think that long-term bullish, short-term cautious. AMP. Actually, let me see. AMP USD. I have it on my list here. I have this coin. This is one coin that I like. Monthly chart got rejected here. 0.136. I can't talk anymore. It's been close to 2 hours. Got rejected here. 0.136. If you do a log scale here, it gives you a little bit more clear picture. Got rejected at 0.5. It's been hovering around the 0.236 here. I don't know how high this thing's going to go. I think at least like 10x this cycle. And I'm crazy to say that, but I think I have a position. It's at support. I'm going to show you what the support is. I'm going to get rid of this FIP level over here. I'm going to show you the Ichimoku cloud. It's at support, right? It's going kind of underneath a little bit, but it's been wicking down below it a little bit here. It's at the 2-week Ichimoku cloud support. It's been holding support pretty well. I think this might end up being a wick. If it ends up going down below and close the 2-week candle here underneath, that's okay. I still see that this being a horizontal zone that is holding. and it can go down a little bit further, even to like 32, 32, 33. Like it doesn't really bother me. I think this is a pretty decent area to load up. Why isn't AMP shooting yet? Well, because of a very negative sloping Tengen over here, right? Tengen currently has it's 395, and I think if 395 it would break above the Tengen and reclaim the bottom cloud over here, it's got some pretty crazy upsides. Let's just put it that way. Probably gonna getting rejected here, like 156 somewhere around here, like it did last time, and then it might do some maneuvering and break above the cloud, and then like that's gonna be it. 2025 is gonna be a pretty good year for AMP, because what is happening is, if you don't use any indicators, what is happening is forming around the bottom over here, like around the bottom over here, is form a higher high here compared to over here, is forming a higher low over here compared to over here. So it's a bull trend until it's not, and there's nothing really like too entirely bearish about this chart. I just think, like, when you're entering like a crypto, like this is a small market cap, by the way. I think it's only got like 300 million market cap. So there's potential for it to go a lot higher. I think it's entirely possible for it to go like 10x. Gan square 180. I'm going to do 0.01, 0.001. See if it gives me any market symmetry. It does. Very beautiful market symmetry. Right now, you're kind of just hovering around this horizontal line over here. It got rejected here at the arc, rejected here at the arc, rejected here at the arc. It's just building up energy to break out. I'm not like, I'm not really scared. There's no volume over here on the downtrend. And it looks like it wants to break out the arc here on like decent volume here, but got rejected. So it's doing its thing. I don't care. I'm bullish on this. Ichimoku is underneath everything here on the weekly. Bora support band is basically still serving as resistance, but that's also part of the reason why it hasn't, mooned yet, right? We're trying to flip the Bora support band from resistance here to support. I think it's going to end up doing it, just because it's been forming a base here for so long. I think it's going to end up flattening, and I think you're going to have a chance to flip from resistance to support and go a lot higher in 2025. That's what I'm seeing. The monthly chart on the Bollinger Band is not ready yet, because the 20-month moving average is looking like it's turning flat, but currently is still getting a little bit rejected. It's a little bit negative sloping here still, but overall it's still a higher high and a higher low. I think this 20-month moving average might take another month or two to kind of break above and go higher, but I think it's going to do pretty decent. A lot of altcoins look like this, and I like a little bit of smaller cap altcoin like AMP, and I think it's a pretty decent area to add, and so I'm adding to it. And we'll see what happens, right? I am drinking a lot of tea. I talked for yet another hour. I think I'm going to keep going, but before I keep going, I can't believe you guys are listening to me for like 2 hours already, because I do want to go through miners, and after miners, I'm going to be done. I'm also going to talk about Ethereum as well and Dogecoin, but after that, I'm going to be done. And before I do that, pee break. I'll be right back. Hey everyone. I promise I washed my hands. It was pretty quick, I know. I have 3 drinks in front of me. I have a bubbling seltzer water. I have a glass of wine, a red wine, and I also have a whole jug of tea that I just made a couple hours ago. It's tea gunyam, yeah, 铁观音. Pretty good tea. I'm just like been drinking. I think I drank like 2 liters already because I have to talk for 2 hours. I'm gonna try to end the show at some point, but it's fun. I do want to apologize for those who are not members, and it feels like I'm like making you pay just to listen to me. No, like you can still listen to all these things for free. I don't care. I'm gonna try to go for a lot of stocks that and a lot of crypto. A lot of people are interested in anyway. But I have to limit chart requests, because I want to go through what I want to talk about. It's already been 2 hours, and I still want to talk more. Like I can't just open up to chart requests to everybody. So like if you want to sign up as a member, feel free to do that. I do like a lot of non-members, so I feel bad because like a lot of y'all's comments are absolutely hilarious. So um oh boy, miners. What do I think miners is going to do? Well, it depends on what Bitcoin is going to do. Y'all degens need to stop leveraging. I'm going to refresh this, and now yeah, it's lighting up even more, like around the 68,500 zone. Stop it. It's going to bring Bitcoin down on Monday. It's going to bring the miners down too. I hate you all. Anyway, Clean Spark, right? This is again that I've drawn 360 in one. I still think that if you don't use any of these um, indicators, this is still a short-term downtrend on a higher time bull trend. There, a lot, you might say that, hey, it looks like things have broken down and we're just back testing levels here. Like this is the area to exit if you think that the cycle's over, right? Do I think the cycle's over on a higher time frame? I do not think so. The reason why I don't think the cycle's over is because of what I just showed you with Bitcoin earlier, what I just showed you with IWM earlier. Like there's a reason why I talk about the market before I dive into individual stocks, because there's no reason to think that the stocks are going to have to behave a certain way if you don't have the context of the macro. And I do think macro is important. I just don't think that the fundamentalists talking about macro is that important, because I have started a position on TQQQs in June of 2022 whenever Jamie Dimon started talking about like economic hurricanes coming, and I'm glad I did, right? So you have to see like there's a lot of deleveraging that's happened in 2022, and right now we're on an uptrend. I'll like S&P 500 has gone up a lot, it's hitting resistance. Bitcoin has gone sideways for about 7 8 months, and it's on an uptrend. IWM has been underneath 0.786 and looks like it wants to break above. The market makers want to take the opportunity to cool down this really parabolic bull trend where CleanSpark has closed months and months above the upper Bollinger Band here for a very long time. And it's just simply, I guess it wasn't ready to run yet, right? Why isn't it ready to run? You remember what I was talking about, the 786? I'm sorry, this chart is a little bit busy. I'm going to get rid of the Bollinger Band here so you can see a little bit better. I'm also going to get rid of the Gann chart here just for a second. You remember I was talking about the 0.786? It was able to break about the 0.786, then lights out, right? It simply wasn't ready yet. The price has gone from like, a buck and a half all the way to $25 in like a year and a half, cooling down, back testing some of the fit levels down here below. It breaks through like 3 fit levels, come back test 1, breaks through another like 2, come back test 1, breaks through another 3 levels, come back, that's 2, right? Higher highs, higher lows, higher time frame bull trend. And if you're also looking at the let me see here. Yeah, if you're looking at the Bollinger Band or 20-month moving average, had a tweezer bottom here, kind of like it did over here, very nicely testing the 20-month moving average as support. Initially, it was a little bit exhausting, but it looks like it wants to keep pointing up. We don't have 1 day of price action. Maybe we end up coming back down, back test like $10 range over here for CleanSpark. That would be completely fine on a higher time frame. I really don't care. overall, based on the whole context, I think CleanSpark is going to position itself pretty well. On a high time frame chart, this is a bullish chart, right? So everything else is just kind of noise right now. It's stuck between the 0.5 and the 0.618. It'd be nice for it to kind of break above. I did the Gann chart here on weekly. So right now you also add resistance, right? Your the resistance confluence zone at 0.618, and also the ARK, you got rejected. Understandable. Inside candles so far, and these two inside candles, pretty decent volume, but these volume might be a little bit messed up here with CleanSpark. I think I checked with like 7, who's like the volume guy, and he's, I'm not going to focus on the volume here too much. Inside candles on this big giant green candle, maybe a little bit of inverted head and shoulder pattern to it. This gap over here is going to be resistance, and this gap over here is going to be confluent with 0.618. So you're going to have a hard time bringing about the gap. And these are just some short-term. Like a week ago, I was saying that miners are all at resistance, but they're looking bullish. That's what I meant by that. Like short-term, doing what it needs to do, but it's still at resistance. Once you're able to break above resistance, you're going to hit back to the 0.618. Break above the 0.618 and hit the 0.786 in no time. It's been challenging it for like 5 months now. I think a lot of the supply zone has already kind of been eaten above here. You have another supply zone here that's probably going to end up breaking through in Q4 2024. Maybe a little bit of resistance here around $15, which is the bottom of the range over here, and which is the top of the arc over here. And once it breaks back above, getting to $21 in a hurry. And then if you're able to break back above 0.618, Bitcoin goes to 200,000. Then you're talking about potentially some of the higher targets over here, which would be this arc over here around like 50s, around like 109 or something like that. Then you're going to start talking about like these crazy targets, right? Then you can start talking about, hey, maybe it breaks about the Ichimoku cloud here on the monthly, which is going to be a resistance level here, by the way, because that was the previous cycle high over here. So 40 is going to be a pretty strong resistance level. After that, it can go through 3 digits. I think it's entirely possible. It just has to break above the cloud, and it has to do what it has to do. Yeah, so currently it's still working on its technicals, had a bullish cross, but right now process underneath the Tenkan Kijun. It just has to break, repair its technicals. It probably is going to take some time for the remainder of Q1 2024. I think it's still going to be underneath the cloud here, but maybe Q1 is going to be when CleanSpark is going to run. Generally, CleanSpark and these miners, they might lag behind the IWM and Bitcoin here a little bit, maybe by like a month or 2 or 3. It's no big deal. They all have their own technicals that need to work out, but you have to remember that these CleanSpark, Mara, all these stocks, they are all small cap stocks. Like the biggest one, I think it's like Mara, is only like maybe a few billion dollar market cap. These things are small, right? You have to remember that these things are small. I think that you have the Trident look to it. Trident bottom. This is like a morning star kind of pattern. I guess initially I was hoping that it would close the month in October with a nice candle body over here, but it didn't. But it still ended up having the early wicks here down below for Mara. Same look over here, right? Same look over here, right? Same look over here, right? So these patterns are bullish. It's underneath the Tenkan Kijun. Am I worried about that? Not really. Looking at the bigger picture for Mara, like it was also underneath the Tenkan Kijun over here after the bullish cross, and next thing you just kind of go parabolic. When did it go parabolic? November 2020. November 2024 is coming. When did what happened in November 2020? IWM went crazy, broke about its 0.786 resistance level and just made an all-time high, right? And Mara followed up with that. Do I think it's going to happen at Mara this time around? Do I think it's going to have like a god candle in November, push all the way to the bottom of the cloud, or even to the top of the cloud here, to like $42? I don't want to be crazy. I'm not a crazy cat. But yeah, if it happens, am I going to be entirely surprised by it? No. Am I going to like buy like short-term calls and expect the end of the year to hit like 40? No. But I think that it's building up something here that is looking pretty decent. If you get rid of the monthly Ichimoku cloud, you just look at Bollinger Band here. 20-month moving average is still being back tested here a little bit. Right now, the 20 moving average is around 16.18. We're a little bit below that. It's it may be another wick down here below. If it turns out to be a wick, it's still going to be pretty bullish for me. So yeah, I'm not really that scared about the the Mara chart here. Still thinking good things could happen. You know, if you're looking at the weekly, you simply are also underneath resistance here, right? At the horizontal Gann level over here. Looking at the higher time frame, this still looks like a bullish chart. Higher highs, higher lows for the most part. This low area over here looks very similar to this area over here, where price is, you know, peak above a level, peak down below a level, trying to push through. I think we're getting pretty close. Sorry, I'm going to drink a sip of water here. Oh boy. I just want to make a comment on the R. Kelly thing. No comment. Okay. So I see a lot of similarities between these two areas. If you look at the Gann, horizontal level. If you also look at the 100-week moving average, well, so this is what's happening right now with Mara. It's getting rejected here around like the 20, around the 50, but the 100 is serving as support now. This is a weekly chart, right? So a little bit noisy here. I'm going to get rid of the 20 and 50 to kind of show you. 100 have flipped from resistance here to support. And every single cycle, like not every single cycle, Mara doesn't really have that much cycle because it didn't really become minor until I think like 2019, 2020. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But when the bull cycle starts, last time when you have a negative sloping 100-week moving average, turned flat, back tested support, held, that's when the bull trend started, right? And whenever you have an exhaustion of the bull trend, the 100-week moving average becomes less velocities, if that's a word, come back down, back tested it, it's becoming flat, right? Unable to hold, broke down, got rejected over here, and pushed through here on pretty decent volume, right? This is like the highest volume that Mara's ever traded. You basically push through the 100-week moving average, turn it flat, and back tested its support once and twice, right? Very similar morphology. Very similar morphology. I think Mara to the moon. Like I'm just gonna. I think Mara to the moon. I think it's gonna hit these arc up here. But we're currently underneath resistance over here, just like we're underneath resistance over here. So I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. Besides telling you Mara to the moon, which I made a video about it just last week. Yeah, I think it's gonna hit these arcs up here. I just think that it's gonna do that. Am I deterministic about it? No. Like if I'm just looking at the chart in isolation, if I'm not looking at Bitcoin, if I'm looking at IWM, if I don't have the last cycle to go by, yeah, this is getting rejected here. Looking pretty bearish. It could potentially come down here to the angle to like $10. Could it go down to $3? $3 Mara? I don't think so. Just look at the chart, but yeah, if I look at the chart, I'm like, yeah, $10 is a possibility. It's a downtrend. Looks like it's kind of rolling over. But looking at the greater scheme of things, I just have a harder time to like visualize that. I think the next move is probably going to go up, and I think we consolidate sideways here long enough. This whole thing here looks just like a reaccumulation zone to me, just because there has been not much volume over here after this big giant move. You just have to kind of consolidate sideways here, cool things down here a little bit. A lot of people are worried about Bitfarms. It looks the same as Mara in a lot of sense of the word. It's stuck between the 0.136 and the 0.236. Oh no, it broke down underneath this angle here. I'm so scared. Did it do that before? Yeah, it did. Right? Yeah, it did. Did it end up closing back above it? Yeah, it did. Right? Yeah, it did. So I'm not really that worried about the ankle here, getting lost. You have a huge volume week over here. It looks like it wants to break above, but it just wasn't able to. What happened? What happened there? Right? Well, let's pull up. Well, first of all, Bitfarms, very similar, although Bitfarm, I think, is like an exaggerated version of Mara. Here, it's support broke down underneath. It didn't really quite back test it, but it broke through it on high volume, and it got close to back testing it multiple times, and it's rising. I think this whole thing right here is probably pushing Bitfarms up higher. It just needs time, right? If you look at the 20 and 50, that tells you exactly what happened. I'm going to turn off the Gann here. It's trying to break above the D. Had a little bit of bearish crossover here, but it's no big deal. I think the 100 week moving average is going to sort of pretty decent support. I think Bitfarms is going to be doing okay, but like huge volume rejection of the 2050. Yeah, unfortunate, but it's stuck in a range. It's just stuck in a range. Like, is that something that's concerning to me? Not necessarily, because sometimes all it takes is just maybe a couple candles for it to kind of change its trajectory. But I think it's more important to have like a longer term moving average starting as support, which allows price to really be a little bit more impulsive, kind of break above, right? But you do have a little bit of high volume rejection here, so yeah, not the greatest. Higher time frame. What do I think about Bitfarms? It's doing the same thing as Mara. It's kind of breaking underneath the 20-month moving average here a little bit. Not the greatest look, but again, I think this is probably going to end up being like a wick. And I think November is probably going to end up being maybe okay. November might be the month to remember. If not, then December is the month to remember, right? Over here, I mean, it closed above the 20-month moving average, but didn't really end up working out anyway, right? So here, I'm okay with it going down here a little bit. Again, this just looks like an exaggerated Mara to me. I think those two stocks are gonna kind of play hand in hand. A lot of people talking about like the fundamentals, how Bitfarms is a little bit scary because they have like a lot more exposure to political instability in like Paraguay and things like that. I don't know. Yeah, you're welcome, Vivian. You know I love doing this. I'm not doing it for y'all. I'm doing it for me. but just looking at the Bitfarms here, it's just stuck in a range. Like you don't really even need any potential indicators. It's stuck in a range between like 0.236 and 0.136. If it gets to the bottom of the range, buy. If it gets to the top of the range, unless you think that breakout is going to happen, which I think it will, then sell. Whatever you want to do. I don't care. Overall, still a pretty bullish chart. I'm not. I have a position. I'm not adding to it. I'm just going to let it do its thing. CIFR. This thing looks like it just wants to keep going higher. It's like channeling up, right? If you look at all the indicators, it's basically telling you a very similar thing. It's stuck underneath resistance. 5.5 to 5.5 is going to be a very strong resistance zone, just because we got rejected here for such a long time. But if it breaks above, I think like it's going to go to like $7 or $8 in a hurry. If we break about $7 or $8, it's going to go to like previous all-time high. I think that there's a lot of energy that's been building up with CIFR, and I think that it just wants to like ejaculate out of here. That's what I think. The Fibonacci level, if you do, I already drew that. Let me go ahead and delete that. Yeah, why did we get rejected here at $7 last time? Well, we got rejected here at $7 is because there's the 0.786. Because maybe the market makers know or the bears know that we break about the 0.786, then lights out, right? You break about the 0.786, then it's probably going to push over this arc over here. It's probably going to go to like the next arc over here around like 40 or like, yeah, around like 30 something, $40, somewhere around here, which might be the cycle top. I don't know. If Bitcoin goes to like 200,000, I can totally see that happening. After BM goes like to 300, I can totally see this happening, right? CIFR to like 35 or $40 at the arc up here. Or maybe it ends up hitting arc down here a little bit below that, maybe like low 30s. Because the cycle might end maybe like later on in the 2025. I don't know, right? But I can totally see it maybe hitting the confluence somewhere around $35 in July 2025, right? I don't know. But it has to break about the 0.786. Look at how beautiful this market symmetry is. Like I think I did this scan chart 360 and 0.5. Beautiful market symmetry. A lot of buy volume, a lot of green candles with like high volume buying. I like this chart. I don't care. Let me turn off the volume here just to make it a little bit less busy. It's going to gravitate to the 0.786 once it breaks about the 5 to 5.5 zone. I think it's ready to do that. And once it breaks about that, hits the arc up here. Once it breaks the arc, I think it's going to challenge this all-time high. I think it's going down up to this arc over here in like no time. I think this can happen in like 12 months. Totally possible. Do I think it's going to happen? For sure. No, because you have a lot of resistance level that you need to break above, right? But it depends on what IWM, depends on what Bitcoin does. And if CIFR turned out to be a scam company, then I'm sorry. No, I don't. The fundamentals ultimately they do matter. But look at the market symmetry. It's just been following this arc up here, broke above the arc, back test the angle here, got rejected. What did it do? Came back down, couldn't hold the top of the arc, couldn't hold the horizontal zone, came back test the bottom of the arc, bounced to the top of the arc, bounced through the horizontal. It's probably going to go up to push through the 0.786. It's probably going to end up hitting this this arc over here. If it doesn't, I can do back test another time at this like horizontal here around 4.5. Okay, whatever. Might be a buying opportunity. Doesn't have to come back down, back test the arc here again. I don't think it's necessary. It's already done all that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about what CIFR would do. IREN. I have these circles drawn here. Again, like I'm going to turn this off, look at a monthly, objectively speaking. You have a tweezer up here, you have a tweezer or trident down here, is range bound. But I think it's getting a pretty powerful move loading here because it's been building up a lot of energy here, higher highs, higher lows, consolidating sideways for about like 4 or 5 months. It's probably going to go higher. Looking at some of the indicators here, you can see it's still stuck in the range between the Tenkan and Kijun. It's above the 20-month moving average. And the Bollinger Bands, it was simply just way outside, so you had a tweezer here because it has to go back down to cool things off. But the upper Bollinger Band is going up. Right now, the Bollinger Band on monthly is 11. I think it's like the magnet. And I think it's probably going to ultimately go up a lot higher this cycle. Like there's really not much to say about it. Going back to weekly here, looking at the FIB levels, looking at the GAN, it's getting rejected here at 0.382, getting rejected here horizontal zone. Initially got rejected here at 0.5 in the angle. But I think it's building up a lot of energy. It basically just had to come back down. It broke through this arc here, right? Perfectly. Back test the bottom of an arc twice. Pushing through the top of the arc pretty convincingly. Right now it's challenging the 0.382, challenging the horizontal line over here. Might take some additional time to kind of break back above. Could back test the bottom at the top of the arc again. Possible, but we already did that. I don't think it's necessary. After that, if it breaks about the 0.382 and the horizontal line over here, you can talk about 0.618 and 0.786 and the arc up here. So it could happen maybe around like Q1, Q2. You can see like $20 IREN. And if it breaks about the zone over here, it might take another few months for it to do that. Then you talk about 1.618 and ultimately 2.618 and also confluence of the arc up here. I think $70, $60 IREN is possible this cycle. Not deterministic. The cycle can end a lot earlier. It can end up hitting the horizontal line up here around $35, or even just this arc up here. There's a lot of resistance as it breaks through, right? There's no guarantee. But because it's higher highs and higher lows, and because Bitcoin looks like it could go up a lot higher, because IWM looks like it could go a lot higher. Again, if IWM hits 300, if Bitcoin hits 200,000, I think there's a potential for CIFR to like 8x from here to like 60 or 70. I think it's entirely possible. But I'm not deterministic about it, just so you know. WULF, what's WULF doing? WULF doing very well. Getting me to turn off all these indicators. Man, I'm like, how like 2 hours and 18 minutes. This is absolutely insane. I gotta take a break at some point and end the show. But I'm not done talking about miners yet. Monthly. Uh-oh, there you are. Okay. Monthly, higher highs, higher lows. You don't need anything to tell you otherwise. 20-month moving average curling up. Lower Bollinger Band for WULF is like all the way down here. I think WULF is actually one of the more bullish charts here. It's probably going to end up going a lot higher. Why do you have these like... Why is sometimes like the other miners go like 10, 15, 20% and WULF goes down like 10%? Well, because it's way outside the monthly upper Bollinger Band. It wants to go higher, but it just hasn't a chance to do that. It's falling gravity. But overall, if you stay in WULF, it's probably going to end up having some outperformance here because it's just a very, very nice chart. Like I don't have anything else to say about it. It's overextended. It always seemed to be overextended here on the monthly and weekly. On the weekly is also expanding here a little bit. I think it's going to go higher, but it just simply hasn't had a chance for it to do that quite just yet. Way outside the Ichimoku here on the weekly. On the monthly, it's already broke above the Tenkan and Kijun, had a bullish cross back test the Tenkan and Kijun. Looks like it wants to hit the cloud over here around $12 on the monthly. That's what's probably going to happen around like Q1 2025. It's going to double, probably. I never want to say it's going to do it because I don't know. I'm an idiot. Okay. Yeah, big giant cup over here. It doesn't even want to form a handle. It's just like, oh, I'm going to keep cupping on the way up. Absolutely ridiculous. At some point, if it does end up being bearish, it could come back down, test like $4 or $5 range, and that could be like a minus like 30-40% move is going to end up scaring the crap out of y'all if it ends up doing that. I don't care. The upside is like a lot higher, and I can tolerate any like plus or minus move. I started buying WULF I think around like the $2 range around here, and it was whipsawing between like all this like between like $3 and like $1.60. Like I don't care. I really don't care. But anyway, like to each his own, right? To each his own, to each their own. I don't know. Back testing a horizontal zone over here. That's what it's doing. A little bit of a back test at this level and this level over here that has been happening for years. Going to go down a little bit further to like $5, 5.3, something like that possible. What's happening if you load up again over here? I think it wants it getting rejected here, the horizontal line over here, almost perfectly. But if you look at it again, what's been happening is been trying it got rejected here at the arc. Came back down, found support here at the 0.136 and the bottom arc over here. It's just been bouncing between these two arcs here for a long time. Able to use this angle here as support, went through this arc over here, got rejected, came back down to the bottom of the arc, passed, came back down, back tested an angle, and is able to have enough energy to push through this arc, right? Right now it's just kind of back testing the bottom of the arc. Now, can it go back, not the top of the arc, sorry. Can it go back down to the bottom of the arc to around like 5.3? Certainly. That's going to be a support level. It can even go down this arc here for a little longer. For Q4 2024 is one of the overextended ones. Can go down here, and this arc here is going to frustrate everybody, the crap out of everybody, and back test this horizontal area over here before it like moon slot over here to like 13, 14, moon slot over to like the 0.786, go to like $17. Possible. How high can it go? All it has to go is it has to go back to this like previous high over here for it to end up like 7 or 8xing. I think there's entirely possibility that WULF might end up burning out earlier in the cycle, end up going to $30-some or something like that, and end up just burning out, and that's it for the top. Or if Bitcoin is not as bullish, or IWM is not as bullish, maybe it ends up hitting double digits, and that's it, right? But I think it's probably going to hit like double digits, maybe higher. And if you're talking about like some higher target, like $670, I don't think so, right? I'm going to be a little bit more conservative here and do like some not log scale Fibonacci level, but linear scale. $70, yeah, maybe. 1.618. That would be a very, very like irrational bull market that just hit like $70. Yeah, but I'm not going to be too crazy about it. I'm going to say like if I because my cost average is down here. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going to take profits. I think it depends on what Bitcoin IWM does. It's always good to be able to like chart the other stuff, so it kind of gives me a little bit of like, hey, is the cycle over? Things like that, right? Obviously, I'm going to keep looking at the technicals here for WULF here as well, but I just think it's at resistance. I think it's going to break through eventually, but it might take a month or two, to do that. I just think it's a pretty bullish chart. Why do I think it's going to take longer? The reason why I think it's going to take maybe longer is because you also have a little bit of a bearish divergence here, right? Like I don't even have to look at RSI. I already knew like you have bearish divergence, a little bit higher high here at price, RSI a little bit of a low high. So that's what I'm saying. I think WULF might end up going down here, and it's going to frustrate the crap out of a lot of people. But it's going to end up doing pretty well for the rest of the remainder of the cycle. So, man. All right, I'm going to end with a couple of things here. I'm going to end with Ethereum and Dogecoin. And I'm going to call it a night because it's just insane. 2.5 hours ongoing. Let's do this for 5 minutes and let me call it a day, shall we? I can't be bearish on Ethereum with a very nice cup and handle here. I don't need any indicators to tell me that this is nice. You have a trident looking thing here, right? Like these things are bullish. I don't like this trident here. Looks kind of similar to this trident over here. Thank you, Christian. I love you too. I'm sorry, I probably spoke that a little bit too loud. My wife's probably heard and like, what the hell are you doing? Anyway, here is the chart for Ethereum. If you're looking at the 20-month moving average. So what Ethereum has been doing on the bullish band, it's just been way overextended. It's been cooling down. It's like retracing back to the mean almost. This is a definition of things getting overextended, retracing back to the mean, but it's a bull trend, right? Hey, Jules, thank you. And hi, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to say hi to Super Paul Wanfo. I can't say your name right. Anyway, um, yes, this is an inverted part, maybe. Yeah, looking like it is, right? Horizontal level here. I'm gonna pull up some things here. It's the same theme over and over again. It got rejected here at the 0.786 because the bears know and the market makers know that if you break above the 0.786, then lights out, right? Like you're gonna go a lot higher. Got rejected at 0.786, bounced from the 0.382. Very classic theme for a bull market. And you also have the rising 20-month moving average. And this is higher high and forming a higher low. You got to try and look to it. It's going higher. How much higher? Is it going to outperform Bitcoin moving forward? I think so. The ETH over Bitcoin chart has been just absolutely brutal. I'm going to show that in a little bit, but I think that Ethereum is going to end up, doing pretty well moving forward. At least minimally going to hit like the upper Bollinger Band here, close to 4,000. That's probably where it's going to end up going. Ichimoku cloud, it's been holding the bottom of the cloud here, or top of the cloud here, very nicely. It looks like it's just not ready to run yet. It's waiting for something, and maybe it's waiting for liquidity to come in. Maybe waiting for Bitcoin to convincingly bring about its previous all-time high before doing what it needs to do. But I'm not bearish on Ethereum. It's just a big giant laggard, and it's been very frustrating for a lot of people. I think a lot of people kind of don't remember one thing. Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin throughout 2023. What I mean by that, Ethereum has been making higher. Ethereum has been making like a higher low over here when Bitcoin. Sorry, I should point out Ethereum was making a higher low over here back in November 2022, when Bitcoin is making a lower low, right? So higher low, lower low, and right now it's just been flipping. I mean, like it's not. Yeah, a lot of people are having these narratives saying, "Oh, Ethereum is not going to do anything as you have so much competition." I heard the same narrative like this last cycle, and Ethereum still end up beasting. And there's a lot of tokenomics with Ethereum that is happening right now that I think this is just a back test of the 0.332. I think it's going to push up, and once it pushes about the $4,000 level, which I think is going to happen maybe in like Q1 of 2024, 25, then lights out. Like it's been building a very solid base here. I think something great is going to happen with Ethereum. And if you ask me about the price target for Ethereum, I'm going to say like it's possible. Last time it kind of hit the 3.618 here, and that was it. If it hits the 3.618 this level, this cycle, I can see like 15,000. I can see potentially higher. And that would be a pretty decent gain from here. So we'll see. I'm pretty bullish on Ethereum still. But if you want to be a little bit riskier, you can go to like Dogecoin and other things. We're going to talk about Dogecoin next. But I just think that Ethereum still looks pretty decent to me. So I'm gonna stick around it. Let's look at the ratio for Bitcoin versus Ethereum. I probably shouldn't use a GAN for this, but I just think that it's showing a lot of beautiful market symmetry. Like this doesn't make sense at all. And I just kind of like GAN it out and see what happens. This is like a log scale of a ratio chart with like Ethereum over Bitcoin. It doesn't make any sense at all. And I just drew a GAN chart here just to like I can't ignore this market symmetry, guys. Ethereum over Bitcoin 1 month chart, and you have a ratio, and you have the GAN here. It's been basically going from arc to arc, and it's been respecting the angle here and respecting the arc over here. And it's basically kind of going back closely back testing the horizontal line over here, which is also a previous resistance zone over here. You basically back test it as support. And I think the Ethereum to Bitcoin level, it can go all the way down to like 0.035, which means that Ethereum might still end up like underperforming Bitcoin just a little tiny bit. And this is a very scary falling knife, by the way. Like Ethereum just been underperforming Bitcoin like crazy for like 2 years. I think it's just a little bit overextended to the downside. So like I think it's getting closer to support level here, and confluent with like a very strong horizontal zone over here, right? So I think we're getting close to it, and there's also been a lot of like bullish divergence that's been building up with this chart here. I should probably not use lock here because it doesn't make any sense here at all. But if you just look at like a lot of bullish divergence that's been building up for like months now or a year, right? You're talking about the ratio keep going down. but the wave trend oscillator keeps going up. You're also talking about the wave trend oscillator is also potentially turning bullish over here, right? So I think that Ethereum is still going to do okay, guys, and I have a position on Ethereum. I'm not going to add to Ethereum anymore because if I have money, which I don't, I only have like my net worth is only like $10. So you listen to like a poor cat talking. I don't know why you're listening to a poor cat talking, because I'm poor and yeah, my trading skills sucks. So, but anyway, if I have money, I'm probably gonna end up putting into like altcoin like AMP. I just showed you with some pretty potential exponential gains up, although it can go down like 10-20% from here. I don't care. And if I have money, I might still end up loading a little bit into like Doge, where it is at right now. And what I'm seeing here is really something that is amazing. On the monthly chart, you had a bullish cross here on the wave trend oscillator. And whenever you have a bullish cross here, usually some pretty decent thing could happen, right? I see the monthly chart or wave trend oscillator here to be very similar to over here. You see what I'm seeing, right? I'm going to turn this off here. I'm going to show the Ichimoku. You are breaking above the Tenkan Nikijin here. And it's simply doing a little bit of back test, right? On the weekly chart, it's having a little bit of a hard time breaking above the Ichimoku cloud, but once you break above the Ichimoku cloud, it's lights out. Like it really is lights out. Once you break above the Ichimoku cloud, like you did last time, it's lights out from here. If you do a little bit of a Fibonacci retracement, I see a lot of similarities between this cycle and last cycle. I'm going to do this in a log scale here. If it breaks, yeah, it broke above the 0.382, right? What happened last time when it broke above the 0.382? What happened last time it broke above the 0.382 convincingly? It just kept on going higher. Again, you remember talking about the 0.786, right? You remember talking about the 0.786. That's probably going to be resistance, right? So where is the 0.786 going to be? 0.786, not 0.786. This is Matt Speed. This is a great Matt Speed's target for Dogecoin coming up next around 42 cents. Yeah, I mean, I think price is going to go up to 42 cents in Q1 of 2025. I'm making these bold calls, and none of these are deterministic. I think it's probable that it ends up hitting 0.786 after consolidation over here for about 2 or 3 years. After it forms higher high and higher low, it's probably going to want to form a higher high at some point. If it does, the next level probably going to be either 0.678, around 26 cents, 27 cents. Next level after that, 0.786, around 42 cents. It might end up consolidating there sideways before a further move up to others. I actually don't know. I think that I don't want to be like too crazy. It might hit $1.20, $1.90, and that could still be a pretty significant gain from here. I do think that's possible based on the market structure. And I've been talking about it for a very long time. I've been talking about Dogecoin probably for like a year and a half now. And it's finally kind of doing what I think it's going to do. And I think at some point I'm going to stop buying Dogecoin. I might still buy here a little bit more, but I think I might end up focusing on some of the smaller cap altcoins. And of course, I don't have enough time to talk about it here because it's already been 2.5 hours and y'all are absolutely insane for staying on. Thank you so much for listening to all of this. I might even talk about GME, but I'm exhausted now in a good way. I got it out of my system now in a good way. And please, please, please stop leveraging on Bitcoin. Just stop it. Stop it, okay? You're going to get liquidated. Bitcoin's going to go down to like, 68,500, maybe a little bit lower. You're going to get liquidated. All right? So please, please be careful. Think long term, not financial advice. I'm an idiot. I have $10 to my bank account. All my Palantir, all that, they're all just fractional shares, okay? So don't listen to me. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Have a great evening. Dan, Vivian, especially Vivian. Thank you so much. I'm still waiting for your memes. I'm still waiting for your memes, and I think you need to up your meme game here a little bit stronger because yeah, it's not during business hours, but yeah. Dan, Margin Call, Jules, Christian, thank you for joining. Super Paul, Margin Call, Bien, Matt, Low Gains, had in Pika World. Don't go yet. I've been here for 2.5 hours. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna make some timestamps. Maybe not tonight, but maybe like later on today. I'm gonna do some timestamps later on. Okay. None of the things I say are deterministic. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being members. If you're not a member, I still love you. Okay. Thank you so much for hanging out here for so long. You guys have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.